Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. I am finally back from 11 long days in Los Angeles. That included one day that I had to record this podcast on the road using inferior technology. So apologies for the poor audio quality in the last episode. Hopefully this week is better. And from a content perspective, we already know this week is going to be better because we have the one and only from Restart.run, Jesse Vitelli. Jesse, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very tired. It's been a very long set of weeks, but a lot of great stuff. You know, we got to see some cool games. We got to play some stuff. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah,
Nintendo.
We've got a lot of stuff to get to. I'm not going to do a lot of news on this episode just because there wasn't a ton of stuff that I thought we needed to slam on the brakes. We have cooler stuff to discuss, I think, than any of the little tidbits back and forth. Jesse, you've been playing a game called The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. The Millennium Tales would be a very different game. Just be people complaining about our avocado toast and whatever. But we'll be getting to that at the end of this first segment, which you are going to be joining me for. We're also going to be talking about our impressions of some of the games that we saw while we were on the ground at Summer Game Fest 2026. We did not get a chance to get to that last week because I was just running down all of the avalanche of news. I went over an hour and a half, and it was just me talking just aimlessly into the camera from my hotel room in LA. So we're going to get into some of our impressions of the stuff that is coming to Switch and Switch 2. We'll get your review of The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, and then at the tail end of this episode, we're going to have a spirited discussion. Jesse will not be there for that, unfortunately, but we will have a couple of special guests joining me for a discussion of what we are hoping for with the Ocarina of Time remake. So that will be a very spirited discussion, as I said, inspired by a conversation we actually had at the bar of the JW Marriott in Los Angeles during Summer Game Fest. So it'll be Brittney Brombacher and Camille Salazar Hadaway and I doing a three-way discussion about our very passionate wish list for the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake. So look forward to that at the tail end of this episode. But Jesse, before we jump into the Summer Game Fest stuff, there's been kind of and I didn't tell you we were going to talk about this, so apologies for springing this on you.
Fine.
There's been a bit of a disheartening series of news items coming out of Xbox.
Yeah.
And, this is a Nintendo podcast. We don't need to dive too deep into it, but I do think that having three strong platforms is a net positive for the industry. We know Nintendo's doing great lately, ever since they phased out the Wii U and jumped on to the Switch ship, as it were. They've been doing fantastic. They've been, as financially stable as they may have ever been with the sales of the Switch and now Switch 2. PlayStation, less so, but they're still, I think, in a solid second place. Xbox has been in a very weird place ever since it launched the Xbox Series X and S. We know that, Phil Spencer, the outgoing CEO of Xbox Game Studios and Xbox as a whole, he kind of had this initiative of bringing games to multi-platforms. We've seen it over, the Ori games, Cuphead, all those came to Switch. We saw, we're seeing Halo come to PlayStation just next month. So it's been this initiative long in the making, and now that the new CEO, Asha Sharma, is in charge, she seems to be rolling back a lot of those initiatives, beginning with Gears of War E-Day, that is later this year, and then Clockwork Revolution, which is coming out next year. So that may impact Nintendo stuff, in the future. We may not see as many Xbox games, or frankly, any Xbox games coming to Switch in the future, just given kind of the tenor of the conversation. I did speak with the former head of Xbox Game Studios and the current I think, chief creative officer for Xbox, Matt Booty. I had a long conversation with him, and it seems like it's basically like we're going to honor the commitments that we made to these other platforms, like bringing Halo Campaign Evolved to the PlayStation 5. And apologies if you can hear a vacuum running directly above me. It's better than the sirens that you got when I was in LA, so count that as a net positive. But basically, they were saying we're going to honor the agreements that we've made with our multi-platform partners, bringing games like Halo Campaign Evolved over to PlayStation. But we're going to reevaluate things. We're going to dial back exclusivity, or bring back exclusivity, dialing back the multi-platform initiative for games like Gears E-Day and Clockwork Revolution. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense from a business perspective. And then, like, I also asked Matt Booty about, like, all right, well, what about like the series of layoffs we've had, and the fact that like the initiative, this big like super group basically of developers coming together to do a reboot of Perfect Dark, and they were closed before they could even put it out. And he sang the praises. He said he didn't want to talk about the closing of the initiative, but he sang the praises of like, oh, we had this amazing portfolio of all these AAA games and all these amazing IP under our, like, kind of evading the question of like, we've seen a lot of layoffs result from these acquisitions. And then we find out just a couple days later, there are all these reports coming out that there's going to be a seismic shift in Xbox in terms of many studios that they own, that they, most of which they acquired, are on the chopping block, not only to face major layoffs, but potential closures. We're seeing Ninja Theory is the one that's been floated a lot. I don't know if by the time this episode hits, we'll have more details, but there's a lot of very reliable reporting that Ninja Theory is basically been decided that they are going to be closed. And they basically, like, if you watch the Xbox showcase, they announced the new game from Ninja Theory just a week ago, right? It was called Senua. It's the third entry in the Hellblade series, and it's coming out now, basically reporting again. None of this has been officially announced by Xbox, but it's all, reliably reported by journalists and sources that we trust, that Xbox may have announced that game early and without the intention of releasing it, in the hopes that the excitement drummed up surrounding that game would allow somebody to come in and potentially acquire Ninja Theory from Xbox. Which, how do you feel about that?
It's like a really nasty play on Xbox's part, and also I guess that means they get the IP alongside the sale, because like, why would you drum up excitement for a franchise, and if you're gonna spin the studio off, like, you're gonna let them take Hellblade with them? I don't know. Like,
well, presumably they would, because they acquired Hellblade alongside Ninja Theory. If you recall,
right,
Hellblade: Senua's Saga, the first game in the series, was a PlayStation 5 and PC exclusive. It wasn't even on Xbox until Microsoft acquired them.
Right. And so my question is like, okay, so you want to drum up excitement for this franchise and studio that you purchased, and then you are going to sell them off, and you're going to let them keep the IP along with them. Like, there's so many factors in it that just are so complicated, and seems like a really bad play just about at every angle. I guess ultimately at the end of the day, if it lets them stay open and let them keep their jobs, and like, if they get shipped off somewhere else, like, at least they have their job, and that studio isn't just outright closed. I think across the board it's nasty, and it's just like a gross thing that has happened. But I really don't know, because it feels like Xbox is very erratic right now. Like, there's just news coming left and right. I don't even think they fully understand what they're doing. I think these decisions are just being made so quick and in succession that the next decision doesn't make any sense when looking at the previous decision. So I just like don't know what to do, because tomorrow we could wake up and they could, close 4 studios. They could sell off a studio. They could be like, actually, we're good. We're going to keep everything fine. It doesn't feel like anything they're doing makes any sense.
Yeah, and especially when you take into account that this is on the heels of this massive acquisition spree.
Yeah.
That, it was touted as, oh, we're going to be bringing all these games multi-platform. We signed this 10-year deal with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty games to those platforms. And now they're trying to roll back, like, oh, well, actually, we acquired all these. I mean, it doesn't hurt that they have a very monopoly friendly administration
Yeah.
in the office right now. So if they were to try to dial back some of those talks, like, you know, because from what I understand, Sarah Bond, who is no longer with the company, was instrumental in working with the FTC to get the Activision Blizzard acquisition, which is a tongue twister in itself, approved,
Yeah.
because she kept going like, look, we're not gonna, you know, close off access to people. We're signing this deal with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty. We're gonna continue putting most games on PlayStation and everything. So the only formal deal that I have heard of anyway is the one to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo.
Mm.
We don't know if that meant like, okay, well, all these other franchises, like, do they have an obligation? I think it would be smart for them to keep bringing Spyro to multi-platforms, especially considering Spyro got his start on PlayStation. And, you know, I think it's a perfect fit for Switch players.
Yeah.
But like, if they wanted to, like, they could change their mind in theory, given that, like, you know, there's not really a whole lot of safeguards in place in terms of like monopolization. Like, we're seeing massive media mergers happening just basically as we speak. Like, you know,
Yeah,
the
left and
CNN
right.
is getting acquired, and CBS had recently been acquired by Paramount, and all, or Paramount was already the owner of CBS, but like, you know, just all these mergers. We're talking about Warner Brothers getting merged under the CBS and Paramount banner, and it's just like there's not a whole lot of guardrails. So I don't think that they would get in trouble if they
No.
tried to like dial it back. I don't think anybody would come in and be like, hey, you guys told us you were going to have these games across all platforms and you wouldn't monopolize these games on your single platform. I don't think anybody would wag their finger at them.
Yeah, it's just like a really strange, because I think if you look like pre-pandemic, Xbox obviously went on this huge buying spree. Before ZeniMax, Bethesda, and Activision Blizzard, right? You had Playground, Ninja Theory, In Exile, Obsidian, Double Fine, Undead Lab. Like, you just had all of these huge announcements, and then in the initiative they spun up, and that was a direct response to Xbox has no games. Xbox has no games coming out, and they're like, okay, we hear you. We're gonna buy a bunch of studios. We're gonna spin up our own studio, and Xbox is gonna have games. And then somewhere along that line, they made them all multi-platform. They're like, all these games are going to come to PC with the Xbox Play Anywhere. But then on top of that, now games are going to start coming to PlayStation and Nintendo. And it became this like a thing again, where it's like Xbox has games, but it has the same games that everything else has now. And so now they're trying to like swing the pendulum back in the other direction. And I think the chaos that is causing is really, we're feeling the ripple effects of a new administration coming in and hitting the brake and being like, we are going to start cutting because we spent so much money while business was booming and we had the bubble of the early aughts of the pandemic, and we need to clean house. And that's a really cruddy thing to do to a bunch of people and developers. And I think like ultimately it's going to put Xbox in an even worse position when all is said and done, because talent retention is like how you make great games. And the Xbox is very bad at that.
Yeah, and we're hearing terrible potential reports about some of the studios that might be closed, including like, you know, beloved developers like Double Fine.
Yeah.
Like, that is one that we're hearing like on the chopping block potentially. And it's like, if we lost Double Fine, that would be one of the biggest hits that I think Xbox has done. But like, you know, it's a terrible shame what is happening over there in terms of like trying to get the toothpaste back in the tube, which if you've ever tried that, it's next to impossible. Like, they've already like gotten the genie out of the bottle of like, we're doing multi-platform and we're fully committing it to the point that we're putting franchises like Gears of War and Halo over on our main competitor. Like, that would have been like sacrilege 20 years ago. It feels like almost a little bit illegal right now playing. You know, I just published an article like on GameInformer.com about how the PS5 Pro might actually be the best place to play Halo Campaign Evolved when it comes out in July, because they have enhancements on the PS5 Pro that the Xbox Series X just can't offer, because the PS5 Pro is like that mid-generation refresh, which Xbox does not have one of those. So it's kind of weird to like think of like, oh yeah, like I think the PS5 might actually be a better place to experience Halo than the actual Xbox console that like they probably originally started development for.
Yeah. And also, people are going to play these games where they can, what they can afford, because consoles have never been more expensive. So I think if you're putting all these things on Xbox and then being like, if you don't have an Xbox, go out and buy one. They're $800 right now. It's like, that's a hard sell. Where it's like, wouldn't you rather sell the software anywhere you can rather than lock the software to a very expensive piece of hardware that people probably aren't going to buy. I just it's a weird, they've put themselves in a weird situation.
Yeah, and I feel like it may have been a smarter move to do this at the dawn of a new console generation. Like,
Yes.
it's hard to just pull it back so abruptly with games like Gears E-Day, with games like Clockwork Revolution, when you still have Halo, again, the mascot of this this platform, coming to PlayStation. And if they were to say, like, all right, well, Project Helix, their announced prototype of their next console, Project Helix coming out, and say hypothetically 2028, it's going to cost this much, and everybody's going to groan because everything is so expensive right now, especially on the tech side. But
Yeah.
like, they say it's $800, and this is the only place you can play Gears of War E-Day. It's the only place you'll be able to play these games. Then I think that would be a little bit more palatable, because that would signal kind of this new dawn. Whereas, like, people who don't really pay attention to the business happenings of the games industry, I don't think they necessarily know that Xbox has a new CEO. So like, this just feels abrupt to a lot of folks, I think. Like, I mean, obviously people on Twitter are eating this stuff up, and
Yeah.
all social media, but like the average Joe who's just like, maybe they subscribe to Game Informer because they like the covers, that they don't really read anything online, or maybe they listen to one single podcast and that's about it, or maybe they just go to their local Target and buy whatever game looks cool on the shelf. They don't know Xbox has a new CEO.
No.
So like, I think the way to go about that would be to, like, all right, the fresh start is Project Helix. That's when all these new initiatives start. But we're spending way too much time on this. This is a Nintendo podcast. I just think that when there are three strong platforms, I think that's when the games industry is at its best. I'm grateful that Xbox came into the space right as Sega was leaving the space. Like, the Dreamcast was being discontinued right as the Xbox was coming into the industry. And Xbox has been a fantastic platform for much of its history. I mean, the Xbox 360 was my primary platform. I was an Xbox One player for the vast majority of that generation, and I wanted to love the Series X a lot. But to your point, Jesse, like, I just don't have a reason to fire it up over my PS5, because like, unless there's an exclusive over there, like Forza Horizon 6 only came to Xbox and PC for now. It's coming to PS5 later, but it's only on Xbox and PC right now. So that's an excuse to fire up my Xbox. And, if they did continue this into Project Helix generation, I don't know that I would buy an Xbox. Like, I might just be fine with a PS6 and a Switch 2 until the Switch 3 is ready. And I don't know. Like, I think it's smart to try and get back into the game of exclusives, but I don't know if doing it so abruptly, and then also doing it in a way that is leading to the potential shuttering of various acclaimed game development studios. I don't know if that's the way to go about it.
Yeah.
So we will transition to our brief impressions about the games that we saw at Summer Game Fest. But before we do that, just a reminder, you are listening to the All Things Nintendo podcast, which is supported by the fine folks over on Patreon. Without them, this show literally would not exist. You can join them for just $3 a month. That gets you access to the community Discord. We're over there talking about all kinds of stuff, including Nintendo games. We were chatting up a storm about the latest Direct. Also planning game nights over there. They're doing at least one every month, playing games like Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, Mario Kart World, and all kinds of stuff. So get on over there for just $3 a month. We also have $5 tiers, which gets you early and ad-free episodes, as well as a $10 tier, which gets you shout-outs at the end of every show, as well as the occasional multi-platform podcast that I do called All Things Gamers. You can join the team that helps this show continue going week after week by going to patreon.com and searching either for Brian Shea or All Things Nintendo. All right, Jesse, let's talk about some of the games that we saw at Summer Game Fest. You and I were both on the ground for that.
Yeah.
We ran into each other about 7 times and just like kind of passing. We got to talk for probably a total of like maybe 8.5 minutes over the course of the entire weekend, but always pleasant running into you. We did get a chance to hang out in New York during a Star Fox and Rhythm Heaven preview event that you can read both of our coverage on Restart.run as well as GameInformer.com. And Jesse, I want to talk a little bit about what you saw at Summer Game Fest that you think is worth highlighting.
Sure. Looking back when we're talking about this, I like went back and like looked through my notes of everything I played. I actually didn't play a ton at SGF because I was so busy doing other things that I had responsibilities to do. But I did stop by the Nintendo booth and did get to play a couple of the partner games. And I do want to shout out a game called Armatus. I don't know if you've played this game. So it's made by the people who made Godfall. Do you remember Godfall launched on the PS5? Was it? People didn't love Godfall. I didn't play it. I don't have any, I don't have a horse in that race. But Armatus is a third-person shooter roguelike on the Nintendo Switch too. And those are a lot of buzzwords. I know that. But the cool thing about it was one of those things where they kind of grabbed me and they're like, hey, do you want to try our game? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, whatever. I'll sit down. Sat down and played about 20 minutes of it. It is a game where you start they were very specific. They're like, you start powerful and you get more powerful. It's not like you start with nothing and then you've got to like go through waves of enemies. The demo they gave us was like an exhibition. It was just sort of an endless mode of arena, shoot a bunch of enemies, go to the next arena, shoot a bunch of enemies, get upgrades in between. So it's got your typical like third person shooter. You got a dash, you got like an assault rifle, you have a melee attack, and then you get a couple of abilities as you sort of complete each zone. And so I got an ability that let me throw like a sickle, and it bounced around and hit a bunch of these like demons it takes place in Paris. It's like a demon infested Paris. I don't really know the story. They didn't really give us a lot in that, but it was really cool because I got to see how the builds start to work together. So and then the sickle could petrify enemies, so then they would turn to stone, and then when you meleeed them they would explode, and then they would deal damage to other people. And in the very brief 20 minutes I played of Armatus, I was like, oh, I would play like 6 hours of that easy. Like it was just it flowed together. It was so nice. It looked pretty good. It ran really well. For the people that made Godfall, this is a pretty drastically different experience because that was a very melee focused game, and this is very much a shooter. But I could easily see myself playing that on the Switch too. Like on an airport or like a train ride or something. Like, oh, I got 2 hours. Let me bust out Armatus and play an hour or two of it. It was really cool. A surprise sleeper hit for me.
I think that game has like a Destiny style like art vibe to it, right?
Kind of,
like,
yeah.
I think I recall that now. That like I remember thinking like, oh, this is from the Godfall developers when it was on some stream. I don't know if it was a Nintendo partner direct or something, but I remember seeing it and being like, oh, this looks kind of like Destiny. And then it was like from the creators of Godfall, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to look up the dev afterwards. And it's like, oh, what did they make? Oh, they made Godfall. Oh, okay, got it.
So they actually sent me when Godfall came out. They sent me a set of like drink stuff, like it was like like they had like whiskey cubes, I think they gave me. Ooh. And then they also and a glass, like a rocks glass. The glass shattered almost immediately, but they did give me a giant like spherical ice cube mold.
Oh, nice.
Which I used for a few years, and then like I opened up my freezer one day and there was just a puddle of ice because the thing had failed. But that's my fondest memory of Godfall.
Honestly, that's pretty good memory.
So this sounds like a game that I've talked very positively about on this podcast and also on GameInformer.com. I wrote a review called Dead Zone Rogue. Have you checked that out?
No, I have not.
So it's a roguelike first-person shooter, and I think it definitely started on PS5. I don't know if it was on Xbox originally, but it was like PS5 and PC at the very least. And it's just like a run-based first-person shooter where you go room by room, clearing out the rooms of all these robots, and you're like unraveling this mystery of what happened on this space station that you're on and why you keep getting reborn over and over again whenever you die. And it's very fun to find like the like interactions with the loadout. So I mean, if check it out, like look at it and see if it looks like what you're talking about, because you might be able to scratch that itch right now. But
all right.
It's called Amadeus is the one that you're talking about? Armatus. Amadeus. That's very close.
Close enough.
Armatus. Let me look up anything about that.
It's neat. There was a lot going on with it. For like I said, for such a tight 20-minute experience, I only got to really see the combat aspect of it, but it looks like there's like other weapons and stuff. I went for a very, very melee focused build. I love a good scythe. If you give me a scythe in a game, I'm going to power that thing up. And they had one, and I got multiple melee attacks, and I was exploding things, and my dash got longer. And by the end of it, I was just like a killing machine.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer right now on Steam, and it looks really good. Like, this is definitely ringing a bell from that one, whatever stream that was. It might have been a state of play or something, but
Yeah.
like, I'm glad to hear that it seems like it runs well on Switch too.
Yeah, I had no, I graphically, it's a little, less so than like the Steam page. It looks a little more glossy because it's obviously PC. But frame rate wise, like no issue. There was no stuttering. I didn't have any like dropped frames, or it didn't like look bad. It definitely looked not as good as some of the other versions of it. But yeah, I had no problems with it. Like I could very easily see myself playing that on my Switch.
Well, it looks like it comes out this year, so
Yeah,
who knows when that'll be, because hopefully they don't do it in September, because every single game is coming out in September aside from Grand Theft Auto 6. But it seems like it could be a sleeper hit if it ends up being, released at the right time. I think that release
yeah.
is going to be key for a game like that.
I'm hoping it's like August. I'm hoping it's like early August. There's not a lot around it. It can just kind of live for a couple weeks. Everyone can get really into it.
That would be cool.
That would be my fingers crossed.
Hi there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's show, why not check out Dungeons and Dragonfruits, the bizarre, strange, and queer in every sense of the word D&D podcast. Join 5 friends as they laugh, learn, and adventure their way through the weird, wonderful world of Widdershins, where dragons hatch from trees and have adventures of all forms in every shape and size. Available wherever you can get your podcasts.
But all right, well, let me bring up a couple of games that I saw. First one I'll bring up is Hot Wheels Infinite Rush. This is
Ooh.
a racing game, an open world racing game, really, from the makers of Hot Wheels Unleashed 1 and 2,
Great games.
as well as several other racing games. A studio called Milestone. They're based in Italy, and they just do all kinds of racing games. And there's like 4 kind of open areas that you can go. Think like Sonic Frontiers, where it's like more, it's not one seamless open world like a Forza Horizon, but instead they give you like 4 different biomes that you can travel between. And there's like, you drive around and you basically just run. Think about like almost like the Lego like superhero games where they have like the open world style where you just go around and be like, oh, here's a mission, let me activate that mission, and then that starts. But like they have all these ways that like it just integrates seamless into when you're driving around. So like there was one time where I was just like in this area and it was like, oh, start this event and then cause as much damage in the environment as possible, or start this event and then suddenly like just a checkpoint appears like off in the distance. You have to just drive to that checkpoint. So there's a lot of like, using the open world to try and make it so that it feels like a natural part of the events themselves. And then there's like all kinds of like collectibles and discovery and customization with the cars that you unlock. I think they said there's like 150 plus Hot Wheels cars that you can unlock. But yeah, like there's all kinds of, you basically form your loadout. So like there's like a street racer, a drift racer, an off-road, and I think like an all-around vehicle. And you just choose which car of the ones you have unlocked that you want to fit into that slot. So if you come up to an event that is like, oh, well, you need to do like off-roading for this, you could just press one button. I think it's like a button on the D-pad and it swaps to whatever car is equipped in your loadout. It's very fast and fluid in that way. So that's a very nifty way that they do that. But yeah, like there's like elimination races, there's time attacks, there's find a way up to the top of this mountain by the time that this timer expires, and like you have to kind of like retrace the way that this track goes around. It's all like the Hot Wheels aesthetic, so it looks like kind of like you're driving around in like a toy environment. But it seems like a completely fun experience. I only got to play about 30 minutes of it, but I had a good time when I was playing. And I haven't really gotten into the Hot Wheels Unleashed games. They just, I'd rather just play like kind of a straightforward racing game. But it seems like they're doing some cool stuff with the Hot Wheels license that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do with other games. So
Yeah.
that was just one I wanted to shout out. I think that comes, speaking of September releases, I think that comes out. Yeah, September 24th is when that game comes out. So, I mean, I want to say like, it's a cool game, but I also want to say like, good luck, because I think that's a day before Wolverine hits.
It's also like Control and Onimusha, I believe, are also the 24th. Tough.
So yeah, that's a tough window there. But Jesse, what else you got for us?
I played Among Us Story on Guard, the
Oh.
little single player Among Us game on the Switch too. That game is super neat. I don't know how. I mean, obviously, I know you know Among Us. I don't know how much Among Us you've played in
Played
your life.
one Among Us match.
Okay, so
I was killed immediately.
I'm somebody who played like a good amount of Among Us back in 2020 when it sort of first blew up, and I like Among Us well enough. I haven't played in years, but so when they announced the single player thing, I was very curious about it, and it's something I love about a demo is it's a bespoke demo that like references that it's a demo, and it's I believe it's out now. People can play it publicly now. I believe. I think. Don't quote me on that. I know there's a demo at some point. Regardless, Among Us Story on Guard is really cool because it takes the like design language of Among Us and just turns it into an adventure game, turns it into a detective game where you see somebody dead on the ground and you go up to them and it does all the Among Us things of, oh no, we need to figure out who did this. And you walk around and you walk into a room like the reactor room. And if you've played Among Us, oh, you probably need to sabotage the reactor because that's what you do in Among Us. But if you haven't played Among Us, you're just like, the game's like, we need to sabotage the reactor. And so it's fun because if you've played Among Us, you're sort of rewarded by knowing what's going to happen a little bit, but not knowing how they're going to sort of frame it. And so in the demo I played was you go over to a coffee machine and you make coffee by like dragging coffee beans into the machine and you can make a nice cup of coffee and then you go and you dump it all over the reactor because the engineer's hiding in the room and you need him to come out. And then you chase him around this like pillar in the center. And if you've ever played Among Us, when like you're trying to chase a killer's trying to chase you, you're trying to like kite around objects and stuff. So they found like really interesting ways in a single player game to still give players that Among Us experience. And the demo was like pretty short. It was like 15-ish minutes. I completed it. I did not get to find out who the killer was in this scenario. The demo cut off beforehand, but there was just all sort of little trappings of Among Us in there. And the writing is really funny. It's really like sharp and witty, and it's got things for people who don't know anything about Among Us. And if you've played Among Us, there's a lot of references in there for fans. And so yeah, that was just a fun little thing that I got to experience. I didn't think that was going to be for me because not the biggest Among Us head, but playing it was like, this is delightful. I would absolutely play. If this game's 5 to 10 hours, I would absolutely play something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have no background with the Among Us franchise, but that sounds like it would be cool to just fire up. Because my problem is I don't want to deal with people. Like,
sure,
real talk. Like,
and this one you don't have to.
Exactly. So that's why this sounds like it would be more up my alley than a normal, especially since I'm a console gamer and it's like they start interrogating you. This is what happened to me. And I'm fumbling with the Switch's keyboard trying to say I was completing tasks. And before I even finished saying that, they had tossed me out into space. And that was that. And that was the end of my Among Us career. So I think that nowadays I just want to play a single player game, and it's always been a deterrent for me to have to like just play games with strangers in terms of like, especially social deduction games. Like I can hop online and play like, a sports game or like a shooting game where it's just like, all right, everybody's just thrown into a lobby and we're all playing games and fighting games, same thing. But it's like, man, something about like having to type messages to strangers that I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
it's tough. There's a social tax to it that you're not always, ready for.
Yeah.
Absolutely understand that.
But that sounds cool though. Like I could see myself checking that out. Like how many missions are there? Do you know, or how many like
I don't know anything about the full game. Like I said, that demo was a very bespoke made for that, which is, by the way, the demo is out. You can go download that demo and play it now. Yeah, it was very bespoke. It was roughly 15-ish minutes. There was probably more I could have done in that demo, but I was sort of just trying to get through the main scenario that it put in front of me because I was worried I was going to run out of time. But I imagine there's more things to poke around and play around within that demo. But yeah.
All right. Well, I don't remember the full name of that, but it's the Among Us Story. What?
Among Us Story on Guard.
On Guard. Okay. All right. Well, I have two more quick ones to talk about. One of them, I guess they're both from Sega. One of them was Sonic Pico Park.
Oh.
I don't know anything about Pico Park aside from the fact that it exists, but this made me want to dive into the original game. So it is a 2 to 8 player co-op game. And the Sonic version is, you control Sonic characters, and they all have like kind of their own special attributes. I don't think Sonic and Amy have any like special abilities, but like Knuckles can glide, Tails can fly, and you have to use the four characters. In the case that I was playing was only four characters, but it does go up to eight players. To like kind of complete these tasks and get through these levels. So like in one case, like you stacked the characters up as like almost like a human, or I guess animal staircase, and then have one character climb up to the top of and reach this ledge that has a button that then opens the wall so you can all get through and get to the end. If anybody dies, you all have to start over. So I mean, it has kind of that like new Super Mario Brothers co-op where you're like, I can just be a jerk, and I did that a few times and just like, hey, watch this, and then like immediately like drop everybody into a pit. So there is something like that where like there was some uproarious laughter that was coming out of our session. And then but like it was very fun to like kind of brainstorm and be like, all right, how do we get across this? There was one where it was like there was like a ledge up top, and then we were all tethered together by like this rope. And we were like trying to like have one character like spin dash and then reach this key that was over like suspended over top of this bottomless pit, and that just wasn't working. We weren't getting enough distance on the spin dash. So what we realized we had to do was use the ramp to spin dash up to the ledge above it, and then have two characters dangling below, and then, you know, have the top two characters move over directly above the key, and the two dangling characters would get the key and then bring them back over, and then suddenly we had the key that we could get to the location that we needed to be. And then another time Tails had to fly up, and then everybody had to jump on and grab onto him, and then Tails would fly over to the other side of the ledge. So there's a lot of like teamwork involved here. I don't see myself playing this online, but having friends over, like it's simple enough. I don't even know if there is online play, to be honest, but it seems simple enough that anybody with any kind of gaming history could jump in. And the fact that it's Sonic themed is also just like a little bonus. Like this game doesn't have to be Sonic themed, as evidenced by the existence of regular Pico Park, which in itself was a very successful indie game. But, you know, the Sonic branding gives me a little bit more incentive to check it out. So I think that comes out just this year at some point. I don't know if there's a date associated with it. And it's not even fully announced. Oh, no, it's just TBA, actually. It's not even fully announced for any system other than Steam right now. But I would imagine that it would be weird if this did not come to Switch, to be honest.
Yeah. Feels like a slam dunk on that.
I only have one more. So do you have one more you want to mention before we move on to your review, or you tapped out?
I'm tapped. Weirdly enough, I'm tapped.
Okay. I mean, I was looking, these are the only games that I checked out that were coming to Switch 2 definitively. I did not go to the Nintendo Partners thing. That was our dear friend Eric Van Allen who handled that for us. But you know, I know there were all kinds of amazing looking games in there. But the third and final one that I want to talk about that I saw at Summer Game Fest is one that it's such a roller coaster for me, because when this reveal happened, like I would say that there's at least one or two moments in every one of these like big gaming weekends, whether it's the Game Awards or whether it's Summer Game Fest or E3, where I get a little bit choked up about something that I'm seeing. Like I saw it for like the reveal of like Final Fantasy VII Remake back in 2015. Like that was one that got me. I got a little bit that way with the Ocarina of Time remake reveal, but the one that got me the most was a big surprise, and that was Crazy Taxi World Tour.
Sure.
And that's because it was such the perfect, like, it had the Offspring blasting over the speakers. They had like what looked like very traditional, like Crazy Taxi style gameplay. Crazy Taxi was one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast. It was the game that after I had a very traumatic experience where I was stranded south of Tokyo during a tsunami warning, I came back to Tokyo. I finally got back at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I treated myself to sushi, beer, and then about $20 worth of Crazy Taxi play at an arcade. Nice. And so like it has a very special place in my heart. So seeing Crazy Taxi World Tour in a way that looked just extremely faithful, but also modernized to modern standards, felt extremely, you know, touching to me. You know, it was something that hit me right in the feels, as the children like to say. I felt the same way when Star Fox was revealed, because Star Fox is similarly a franchise that holds a special place in my heart, especially Star Fox 64. So Crazy Taxi World Tour, I got a chance to see a hands-off demo. It looks great. Like it looks like they have like all these different modes where it's like a similar to Hot Wheels Infinite Rush, where you go in and it's just an open area, right? And then you drive around and you can do time attacks. You can do like rival races where it's just 1v1, like race to this destination, and that all seems cool. But then there's also Crazy Rush mode, which is basically you stop by a potential like passenger, and then as soon as you pick them up, the timer, like the old school arcade game, appears in the top, and your job is just to complete as many rides as you can, and you get all the bonuses for pulling off like drifts and jumps and everything. And all the music is the punk rock that we hear in the original Crazy Taxi game. There were 2 Offspring tracks and 1 Bad Religion track. All of them were from previous Crazy Taxi games, so it felt right. And there's even like a fishing mini game where you have to speed towards the dock as fast as you can, slam on the brakes as close to the edge of the dock as possible, and then your character will cast the line, and then you have to reel it in and see how big of a catch you can land. And so they're doing some really zany stuff with this. There was another one where there's an NPC called Burger who does not sell burgers. He sells pizzas.
Oh.
And you have to deliver. We saw that very briefly in the trailer where he's driving around and there's like pizzas stacked up on top.
Yeah.
So it's basically an homage to like Uber Eats, where like, all right, well, I'm an Uber driver essentially, but I have, I can also deliver food. So you're going around just dropping off as many pizza deliveries as you can within the time limit. And apparently there's a whole storyline associated with that character, and like it just goes like kind of crazy places. But that it all looked fantastic. I got to see an extended hands-off demo, got to hear from the creator of the series, got to sit down and it was like a group session, and then I chatted with him for a little bit afterwards. Very cool. Then the kind of negative stuff came out, which was there is, and I talked about this in the last episode, so we don't need to dive into it too much, but there was the Steam listing that showed that there is AI use, generative AI use being used in the development of the game, which I talked about how I kind of view AI as a tool that is going to be used in game development regardless of what anybody says, right? This is probably here to stay. The thing that I get disheartened by is the use of generative AI, because that is the thing that it is almost inevitably scraping the work of other people off the internet without their consent, and without paying them or compensating them in any way. And then it is using their like an amalgamation of the various works that it scraped to produce whatever it is that you are telling it to produce. And I did ask the creator of Crazy Taxi, he's also, I think, the lead producer of Crazy Taxi World Tour, about how the AI is being used, because that was like a big point of contention when this game was finally revealed and announced. And he basically clarified that, like, everything is being created by developers and artists. They even sent teams of artists out to the various countries that you're able to go to. There's, I think, 5 different countries that you can visit in this game. We only know about basically the San Francisco level, which is inspired by the original Crazy Taxi game. And basically there's like, we sent out scouts of artists out to these countries. So like they've actually visited the way we used to do it. Like, there's all those talks about like the Sonic Adventure team going down to Latin America, which inspired all of the kind of like Aztec style temples pyramids in Sonic Adventure 1. So like they're kind of taking the old school approach in that way, but the way that AI comes into it is through ideation. So that way they're like, oh, we want to come up with a thing that looks like this. How would that look? And then I think what they do, from what he told me, is then have real world artists play off of the ideation of the AI. And I'm not in love with that, first of all, to be clear. But I will say that if they are going to use AI, generative AI specifically, I think that is among the most benign ways it can be used. Again, still not a giant fan of it. But I'd much rather that than what we saw with other games announced during Summer Game Fest, where it was like, oh, AI assets were used directly in the trailers. And it's like, that's less than great. Like that's pretty bad, actually, if I have to be honest. But how are you feeling about Crazy Taxi World Tour? It's kind of an emotional roller coaster for me with, yay, Crazy Taxi, yay, Offspring, oh no, AI. But okay, the game looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like up front, I was very excited because I also love Crazy Taxi. I love Bad Religion, Offspring, like old punk music. Like that's my jam. And then I sort of like went to Summer Game Fest and like did a bunch of stuff, and then like caught up on the Gen AI stuff like pretty late in the day. And I immediately went, okay, I'm gonna like file this game in the back of my brain for like when it comes out, and I'm just gonna like put a little pin in the we accidentally left an AI asset in this game. Oops, we're gonna have to have that conversation the way we have that conversation with every game that uses Gen AI. So it kind of like really just like deflated, like took all the wind out of the sails for me. Um, yeah, I just the ideation process thing, like it just doesn't hold water for me. It just like doesn't make sense for me. Uh, like you're doing all the legwork. Like, how is this making your process easier? I don't understand it. You're using, a bunch of tokens to like boil the ocean so you could come up with like a piece of concept art that your artist could have done anyway. It just like all that stuff. And this isn't just Crazy Taxi. This is every game developer that is using Gen AI in some form or another. It just like doesn't compute in my head. Maybe one day it will. Maybe I'll understand like where they're coming from one day. But for right now, it's like there's so many other games I could play. There's so many other things I could do. I just like I'll file that one back, and like maybe if things change, I'll look at it again because I am excited. I do love Crazy Taxi. Like I do sound very negative right now, but like at the end of the day, I just want the things that I love to be like made by the people that love them and not the robot. And so it's a tough situation to be in.
By the way, to transition a little bit away from this and into a quick talker that I saw that's related to this, Epic held its big like State of Unreal thing, and basically saying that like Unreal Engine 6, which is the next evolution of the most popular game engine, is going to just be flooded with AI tools, and like every piece of Fortnite is going to be like basically created using AI going forward. And Vampire Survivors developer Ponkel actually put out a statement that they were reconsidering their partnership that was just announced with Fortnite because of that approach to AI use in like the creation of assets for Fortnite going forward. So there is definitely pushback. It's not all developers that are going forward with this and just being like, well, this is the future. We got to do this. That's even though it's going to be terrible for the environment.
Yeah. Everyone's wrestling with it in their own ways, figuring it out. It's a new thing to navigate.
Yeah. So that was all the stuff that I saw at Summer Game Fest that I can talk about anyway. And, I think that a lot of the games that I saw that are not explicitly announced for Switch 2 may eventually come to Switch 2 or get announced for Switch 2. Like there's plenty of games. I think you were one of the people that told me that Clutch is one of the games that you were super stoked on. That was my favorite thing I saw at the show.
Same.
And I'll be talking more about that on an upcoming episode of All Things Gamers for the $10 patrons. But if that gets announced for Switch 2, like we're diving into that hardcore with a future episode of All Things Nintendo. But for now, I think they've only said it's PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. So,
I did look it up before this because I was like, do I get to talk about Clutch? Let's find out. I was like, no, I don't.
That game looks so cool. It's from a bunch of former developers behind the Forza Horizon series, and it's like an action narrative driving game that's kind of like what if Forza Horizon, but also what if Fast and Furious meets Spy Hunter kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of just stuff to unpack there, and it seems like they're doing some really cool things with that. So I will be enthusiastically talking about that on the other show, and then maybe eventually if it comes to Switch 2 on this show. But Jesse, for now, we do have one more game to talk about, and that is a game you have been pouring a ton of time into. It is a brand new release for the Nintendo Switch 2, as well as a lot of other major platforms. I think every other major platform. It is Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. Talk to me about this. It's the next HD 2D game from Square Enix. And rather than being a turn-based RPG like we've seen to this point, it's kind of closer to something we'd expect from a top-down Zelda game.
Yes, it is. It is a Zelda-like, mana-like, however you want to describe it. The Team Asano will tell you that it's very close to a mana game. Everybody else will tell you it's very close to a Zelda game. So up front, what I want to say is this game is way shorter than most of their other titles. Like Octopath Traveler 0 or the other Octopath Traveler games are like 80 hours. I beat Elliot in like a cool 26 hours. Like under 30, great length for a top-down, sort of action RPG. It is very like what you see is what you get. I will say it is very like it kind of just tells you straight up what it is. There's a princess in a castle who is praying to keep the city safe from the monsters, and there's an evil that's represented by a lot of dark purple clouds, and it's a light versus evil story.
And you're a
And
hero that has a sword and a fairy.
yeah, it kind of
doesn't sound like Zelda at all.
It right, it nothing like Zelda. And something I did ask, because I did interview the producer, and something I did ask was, why make Faye, who is this game's like Navi, right, like a more active participant in combat, and because my whole thing was like, oh, this game is what if Navi could kill. And they were like, oh, we really just like wanted Faye to feel more like a companion, more like somebody who is active in all parts of the game. And I think Faye is like that. Like Faye is always talking. You can toggle that down to what they call reticent, which I think is very funny. So if Faye's a little too chatty for you, you can turn that down. And Faye is, you get a bunch of different abilities. Faye can light enemies on fire, suck them into a big tornado, let you warp, and using these tools is kind of how you navigate the world. It's not quite as Zelda in the terms of you need this item to go here to get this item to go there, which is very, classic Zelda. It is more so guided by the story, but also by the time period. You're traveling over 4 different eras of the same map. So the map's not huge, but you have 4 iterations of it. And so you might go to a dungeon and you can only do the first floor of that dungeon. And then Faye will be like, I think we've seen everything we can here. And then you'll go to a different era and you can go to the second floor or maybe the third floor. And basically what you kind of learn is that every dungeon has like one era is where that actual dungeon is. That's where you'll find the boss. That's how you can see the whole dungeon. And all the other eras, you can kind of explore little side paths that you couldn't in the other one. So it gives you a reason to like keep checking out the same places over and over again, which I think is really neat. My biggest problem with Elliot is I think like the writing is not on par with a lot of Team Asano's other projects like Octopath and Triangle Strategy and all these other games. It does fall a little short by being so straightforward, because like that team has written some really great games and some really, great twists and JRPG nonsense that, people come to love about them. And Elliot really just kind of plays it as straight as possible, and it was like a little bit of a bummer. But I do think if you're there for like a top-down Zelda like game that has kind of minimal story until the very end where it tries to ramp up, you're gonna get exactly that. And if you wanted that Mina the Hollower to be that, but Mina was like too difficult for you, or like you didn't like the Souls like elements of it, you might be more at home with something like Elliot, which is a little more traditional in its packaging. That's kind of where I'm at with Elliot.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that we got 2 games that feel very similar to the Zelda franchise at different points.
Sure.
But then you have Mina that also injects so many Souls-like elements into it. But it's like, yeah, we can go months, sometimes even years, without a top-down style action game where you're running around and using your sword on enemies and exploring towns and everything. And now we got 2 within the span of 3 weeks?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's wild, but I guess good for you if you're a fan of top-down Zelda games like I am. But
you're eating good.
Yeah, except it doesn't seem like people are as on fire for Adventures of Elliot as I was anticipating them. Like I think all the people, like all the lead up to this was like, this is going to be one of the best games of the year. It's going to, Team Asano does amazing work. And it seems like a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, like the middle, it struggles a little bit. And like the beginning is cool. The ending is really cool. But the middle, it felt like there was a little bit of a lull. And then also, to your point, the writing is not great. I've seen from multiple critics.
Yeah, it's really weird because I think when you pitch it like Team Asano doing an action RPG that's kind of like a Zelda game, and you take the 3 best parts of those and you put them together, the Triforce, if you will, you put them together, that sounds like all the makings of a Game of the Year candidate. Mm-hmm. Like I like Zelda games. I'm not here to disparage them. Most of their writing is pretty rudimentary, and like that's part of the charm of those games. So when you're telling me you're going to have a team that's really good at writing scenarios and characters and really flesh that out, or at least that's what I assumed, and maybe that's a little bit on me, it was kind of just a letdown on that front. But the other part of me is like, okay, you're going to do a top-down adventure game like this, or I don't know if top-down's the right word, but like, you know what I mean? You're going to do this style of game in 2026. What are you adding? Like, what is additive to this experience? What are you doing that no one else is doing? And I can't really give you an answer to that. There was nothing in that game that was like, oh, this was the idea. This is what they were going for. It does feel like, though, much like Octopath Traveler 1 to Octopath Traveler 2, that if they got a second chance at a game like this, it could be something special. I think there's a lot of iteration they can do to this game to make it something really special, because the combat's really great. There's a magicite system that lets you customize weapons and give them new abilities. Like, I had a chain sickle that you would, if you charge up, you swing it around and you like hook shot someone and pull them to you. But while it's spinning, it can do damage. And I had one that the longer I hold it, like fireballs would shoot out of it. So I would like walk up to an enemy and just like swing on them in the fireballs. Like, there's so many cool things you can do with that system. I just wish the game pushed you a little bit more to be more creative. And I wish that they used the time sort of mechanic, the switching between eras, to like tell a story that kind of felt like you were jumping through time, as opposed to, we need to go back in time to get a new relic. Okay, we need to go back in time to get this other item. All right, let's go talk to that guy. I wish there were more like time spanning quests and stories to tell, and all things that could be very easily rectified in a sequel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that is the case with so many franchises. And the problem is, nowadays we're not getting a lot of studios to have that chance at a second game where it's like, all right, you did a really cool foundation, but like, flaws and growing pains and learning that you needed to do in order to get it to where it is. Like, I think of Assassin's Creed, I think of Uncharted, Mass Effect, even to an extent. Like, a lot of those first entries in those franchises had amazing ideas, but they needed to figure some things out, which they did in the second one. Like, I think Mass Effect 2 is a massive leap over Mass Effect 1. I know people will say narratively it isn't, but from a gameplay perspective, it's pretty indisputable.
Yeah.
Same thing about Uncharted 2 being just a enormous step up from Uncharted 1, and same thing for AC2 versus Assassin's Creed 1. So I hope that they get that chance, but there is a world, unfortunately, where Square Enix and Team Asano look at this and go, we do really well with these Octopath Traveler games. Let's just go back to that instead of trying to figure out what could lift this out of like simply being a pretty good game and turn it into a great game. But I mean, to be fair, they had to do that with Octopath Traveler as well. The first Octopath Traveler game was a pretty good RPG. And depending on who you talk to, Octopath Traveler 2 is one of the greatest RPGs of, the last several years.
It's true. Yeah, I'm one of those people.
So just to wrap this up, how are there dungeons and stuff that you have to like traverse and solve environmental puzzles, or how does the format compare?
It's not as puzzle heavy as something like a Zelda, but it is really funny because since it is like pretty story. I say it's story light a lot, but like there is like a narrative thrust to everything you do. Like, you are going and getting quests and like, going out and like doing the objective that Faye is telling you to do, or the person you talk to in town. So a lot of the dungeon, a lot of like what's pointing you where is story driven. It's not necessarily like Zelda, like a game where it's like, I have an item and I know where to go. It's not Metroidvania in that style. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I know I could go start poking around other places. So you go into a dungeon. It's your traditional, very, very similar to Zelda. I know I keep making that comparison, but you get a blue key that opens up a door, and then you get a red key, and that red key opens the boss door, and then you go into the boss arena and you fight the boss. And you've got your water temple and your fire temple and your jungle temple, and you go to a big mountain, a volcano at one point, and like you are doing dungeons and ruins and not shrines, but like smaller little areas. And the most like puzzle you get is like very early on. There's like a mirror puzzle where you're pointing laser beams around and trying to get them to line up. But otherwise, it's very, very straightforward. It's a lot of like combat encounters into a room full of enemies that lock, the gates lock, you fight them off. Then you go fight a boss that has like a mechanic to it. And then you get an item, and there's 8 different weapons. There's like bow and arrow, bombs, chain and sickle, hammer, sword, spear, something else that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. And you can get different versions of those, and like I said, you can change them up. But really, it is, you're doing dungeons, you're kind of following the story. There's some side quests to do, which I do recommend doing the side quests if you want to play. They do flesh out some of the characters that don't really get a lot of screen time. They are some of my favorite parts of that experience. I did all of the side quests because they're pretty short and they were worthwhile in the narrative text of it all.
And you still stay under 30 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's like you can go collect cats that are like around the world. I didn't collect all of those. There's parts of the map I never even saw. Like,
wow.
just didn't need to go over there for any reason. Never did. Like, it's still covered up in fog. So there is way more for me to do in that game if I would like to. There's a true ending that I did get that does add some time to the game. But the game has multiple endings. The true ending is a journey. I highly recommend it because it is the true ending. It actually explains. If you get the regular ending, it doesn't explain a lot. The true ending will explain everything. And that requires some detective work, some fun detective work, I'd say. I think I had the most fun in the last 5 hours of that game.
Well, awesome. I think that a lot of people listening to this podcast have been highly anticipating Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. I'm sure I'm misplacing a "the" in that title somewhere. But anything else that we need to know about this? Where can they read your review?
You can read it at Restart.run. It will be up eventually. I've been pretty busy. I haven't had a chance to actually put my review in the CMS yet. I also want to go back 1 second. You did say highly anticipated, and I thought Hylian, like Zelda. That was clever. Highly anticipated. You're adding Zelda in there.
Well,
yeah.
That's a perfect segue into the next segment. But before we do that, Jesse, where can people find you online?
People can find me online at Mama Vitelli, or if you just type Jesse Vitelli into the search bar, you'll find me wherever. You can find my work at Restart.run. And yeah, that's me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode, Jesse. We're going to take our only break of this episode, and when we get back, I'll be joined by two very special guests as we just gush and talk about everything we want to see from the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake that is coming later this year. We will be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
We are back, and I am now joined by the aforementioned two very special guests. This is actually a recreation, a remake, if you will, of a conversation that happened at the bar at Summer Game Fest 2026. Two of the biggest Zelda fans I know are now joining this episode. It is Brittney Brombacher and Camille Salazar Hadaway. Brittney, how are you doing? Let's go to you first. How's everything in your world?
Things in my world are great. Still recovering from Summer Game Fest, still writing. My fingers have been very sore lately. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not used to typing this much. But I am wonderful, and I am so happy that we're actually making this happen.
Me too. Camille, how's everything going for you? How was your Summer Game Fest?
It was so good. I just love the fact that this is a reborn, I will say, of what happened in the bar. Craziness. Hopefully, we probably spent hours talking about Zelda, and that conversation was probably my favorite part. I mean, the games are great too, but let's be real. Talking Zelda anytime, anywhere with you guys, no problem.
It was therapeutic.
We were all, this was before it was even announced. Like before the Nintendo Direct even happened, we were just speculating about, the leaks that had happened, about a potential Ocarina of Time remake. And now here we are, and it's officially revealed. And we are going to be jumping into basically what we want to see from this remake of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And Camille, let's go to you first. What was kind of like your history with the original Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time?
Well, I was just a wee lad. I mean, like a lot of people, I was a kid that got this game. I had no idea, what adventure games could really take us, action adventure games, and the storytelling of video games at that time. And this was my intro to all of that. And it completely changed my outlook about video games. This is a game that made me fall in love with video games on another level. Just knowing that even in the stories, even in the little quirks, the storytelling, the world, it could really make you feel like you're a part of that. And it made me as a kid feel like I was a part of this world, and was kind of that comfort of me playing this as a kid and feeling like I belonged somewhere. You know, I belonged in Hyrule. I found my place, and it kind of inspired me throughout my career in video games. So again, for a lot of people, but for me, this is like just a full circle moment hearing about this remake and being able to live it. It's going to be interesting to jump back into this world that I love so much. And that honestly sits with me. Like, this is the game that made me a Zelda fan, and it forever changed my life. Yeah.
Wow. Brittney, what about you?
Oh, she's getting me hyped, dude. She's getting me so hyped.
I'm getting myself teary-eyed, so...
God, yeah. So I loved A Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, and I had Nintendo Power back in the day. And so my magazines would come in, and I'd read about this new game coming out. And I remember it came out in November of 1998, I believe. And I had to wait until Christmas to get it. And it was so hard. But I remember I got mine from a store called Kmart. And at that time, it came with a CD and a T-shirt, and it's like, Zelda, have ye what it takes? I actually still have the CD case like right there. I'm looking at it right now. But anyway, when the game actually released, my friend Tucker got the game, and I remember he called me and he said, I call it Ocarina. All y'all can hate at me. I don't care. He said, I have Ocarina of Time in my hands. And I said, oh my God. And I went over there the next day. We played it. I watched him pull the Master Sword out of the pedestal, the Temple of Time, turn into an adult. And it has just been, I mean, it's the one game I've always wanted a remake of ever since that day, man. I mean, I have every single guide. I've played that game countless times. The one thing I did in that game a lot that really was fun as a child is I LARPed in that game a lot. Have I told y'all about this? I don't know if I went into this.
No, you haven't, but I just feel like I definitely role played in that game as well. Like, it was, yeah. But please tell me.
I mean, girl, I had storylines. I was a homeless child that lived in the forest, and I would go work on Lon Lon Ranch with the cows, and then I would live, you know, that hay barn in the back of Lon Lon Ranch where you can find an art piece? Oh, yeah, that was my house. That's where I lived. I would pull the crates out, and I would crawl into that little hole, and that was my haystack where I would live. I would literally crouch, and that was me pretending I was sleeping. Like, I had a whole life. But anyway, the game very special to me. I played it with my best friend back in the day. I mean, my grandma played it. My aunt played it. We had conversations about it. We talked about it. My entire life, it's been a constant. When Master Quest came out, it was just the coolest thing ever because I had never died during my original playthrough, and then I died. Yeah, I know.
What the heck? What? Not. Wait.
I know.
What?
I know. I had to sneak that in there. I was terrified to watch Link die. I was literally paralyzed by fear, and that's what propelled me to never let him die. Anyway, Brandon, I can talk about this forever. It's been
ironically
my favorite
enough,
game.
the timeline. Canonically, Link dies.
Oh, that's really? Is that what you're gonna throw in my face right now as I'm gushing about my favorite game? You're gonna be like, oh yeah, dude, I know, don't remind me. The timeline doesn't exist.
You're not the only one that believes that. Yeah.
It's just a magical game for me. It means so much to me. They did so many things so right. They took, this top-down 2D Link to the Past, perfectly translated it into a 3D adventure game. I just played it with my son like 2 months ago for the first time, and that was a trip. I got the N64 controller and everything. And anyway, yeah, I've wanted this remake forever. And the fact that we're actually getting it, I don't think has really set in. I don't think it ever will until I'm holding that controller in my hand and that opening title screen. Oh my God, the opening title screen.
Oh, we're going to get a remake of the old opening title screen.
The horse galloping and you're brung
down. Well, that was my hope for the reveal. But they outdid my hopes. They delivered. But anyways, we'll talk probably more about that. But it's just crazy that you also role played in the Ocarina of Time, because that's what I did as well. I had, oh my gosh, I had gripes with certain characters in the game. It's just crazy that this game really spawned my imagination so much at a time where, I don't even, as a kid, I'm coming into my teenagehood, I'm trying to be cooler. And it's no one really knew I played video games at school, but it's no, this sparked my imagination and actually gave me the confidence to talk to my other friends that I found out were gamers later about video games more and more. So yeah, it's just crazy how this world, I think, or this world of Hyrule that they envision was fully lived out in our imagination and even like filled out even more. It's just wild. I
Oh
tear
my
up every
God.
time I think about it.
I know, dude. There's so many stories, and we could do a show just on our stories associated with it. But Brian, what about you? Unless you've already told your listeners your story, we should probably
I mean, I
include
have,
you.
but I'll go
Okay.
over it quick. I had an N64. I desperately wanted Mario 64, and I got saved up for it when it first came out. I probably got it like 6 months after release, and got Mario 64 and San Francisco Rush. Those were the two games that came with
Wow.
my bundle that I ordered through like some sort of program. I think my dad like had me pay him, and then he used his like credit card rewards points to like redeem it for an N64, and they mailed it to our house. So
Oh,
that was how I got my
man.
N64, and obsessed with Mario 64. And then I went to my cousin's house one time, and Ocarina of Time had just come out, and I was just blown away by what the game was, because like no game had ever existed like that before. Like now we take these third person action games for granted, like where it's just like, oh yeah, like Elden Ring exists, so it's like the like Ocarina of Time looks very meager by those standards. So I remember just being like mind blown. Like I got to watch him do like one of the temples. I think it was like the Jabu Jabu's belly or something.
Oh yeah.
And I was just being like, this is the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. And like I had played the original Legend of Zelda was one of the first games I ever played.
Oh wow.
And I remember renting Link to the Past like multiple times on end. I was like, this is different from any Zelda game that's ever existed. So obviously I had to have it. So I saved up, and I remember like going through like the Great Deku Tree, which I maintain is one of the greatest tutorial levels of all time.
Yeah.
You come out of that and it's like, all right, now we got to go to Hyrule Field. So I walk out into that, and just like at the time, I mean, again, you look at it now and it's like, this is nothing. But back then, that field felt endless.
Oh,
and
massive.
you're like, the possibilities of what could be waiting for me out in this just like seemingly endless, like just field of different areas you could explore, and like going up to Death Mountain and meeting all these different species. It brought the world of Zelda to life in ways that like I never imagined it could when I was playing games like the original Legend of Zelda and A Link to the Past. Even though I loved those games, this was just like next level. And like the fact that this was like the first major game of its kind, and they nailed so many parts of it, to this day is astounding. But I think that even more astounding is the fact that it still has so much love, and it is still like you saw how people reacted to the remake. I saw your reaction video, Britt, and like just breaking down with every single like ocarina note that was played. That was
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The tears, man.
So like I think that I always say that the way that Mario 64 laid out the blueprint for every single 3D platformer that came after it, Ocarina of Time laid out the blueprint for every other 3D action game that wasn't a platformer. Like you see the Z targeting still being used in like 3D action games. Like From Software uses basically the evolution of Z targeting in all of their games. Like any game where you can lock on to an enemy, which is most like melee based third person combat, that is the result of Ocarina of Time popularizing it.
It's wild.
Like, but I remember wild. It is. And I remember this sense of wonder that it instilled in me of like, just like, I don't know what, like most games I could predict, like, okay, it's going to throw this at me. It's going to take me down this path. I had no idea what was waiting around every single corner with Ocarina of Time. And it remained my favorite game of all time for 20 years. And I remember thinking like, okay, well, no game is ever going to instill that sense of wonder in me ever again. Because like, open world games are so like, just permeating the entire industry at this point. And then Breath of the Wild came out, and it was the first time since Ocarina of Time that I felt the way that I felt about another video game. And that's why that's the only reason it overtook Ocarina as my favorite game of all time. So it's still, number 2 for me, but it was, for the majority of my life, it was my favorite game of all time. So I obviously am extraordinarily stoked for this remake.
Oh God! I know you probably have some sort of structure to the show, Brian. But
I know. I'm like, what's the structure? Because I could hop in.
So let's just talk about the reveal real quick.
Okay.
When it came on, Britt, we saw your reaction on your stream. What was your reaction? I guess because it started off with like a retelling of like, okay, the boy from the forest, everybody got a fairy except this one boy, and then we get the character model of Link. How do we feel about that? Camille, let's go to you first.
I absolutely love it because I didn't want, we talked about this in the bar at Summer Game Fest, but I didn't want it to be in the style of Breath of the Wild. I didn't want it to be in the style of anything that we've seen, the Zelda franchise do recently. I wanted them to kind of stick with that familiarity of Ocarina of Time, which is hard because polygons ain't that desirable in this day and age. And I think they did a really good job in making this feel like it's kind of like Fable-esque in a sense, with Link and how we see him sleeping essentially with the opening scene of Ocarina, but also like with the environment around him, how it feels like this world is actually more detailed in terms of his tunic, not just being like a green cloth that that I thought that was what his tunic was, but them thinking about, okay, what is it that these people in the woods would make their garments and their, tools and weapons, all this stuff and craft it from, and seeing that it's probably woven from some sort of like plant or leaf or something like that, right? I thought that was a cool detail, and just seeing him as well not have the hat because, in the scene he does have the hat, has me thinking he probably has the hat in his room somewhere. Why isn't he wearing it now? Like, is this like his sleep? Like, if he's sleeping, he takes off his hat, like, a little nod to like old video games where it's like, oh, I'm gonna hop into the bed and fall asleep and wake up and it's the next day. I think they did an amazing job with making you feel like this character is, really reimagined, but there's some sort of familiarity with how his face is, and how that structure of the Hyrulean like ears, even poking out from his blonde hair. I think they just did it so well, and seeing that, it didn't go too far away from what we know Ocarina to be, but it really just gave this world more detail, which I think is also a really hard feat to do, because they could have done that in many different ways, but they just really hit the nail on, with the hammer here, and I think they just did it so well.
I can see Brittney is ready to explode with her impression. So let's go, Brittney.
Baby girl, I love listening to you talk. Yeah, no, it's literally the same thing. So listen, let's be so real right now. As far as we know, that entire world is going to be made out of silly string or yarn, right? Like, Nintendo does wacky Nintendo things, and I love them very much. But I am with you, Camille. Like, as soon as I saw that character model, and I think we talked about, like you said, the bar, I think it looked great. I know some folks aren't super stoked about it, but if this is a hint at the direction that they're going in, kind of more of a realistic look in that sense, that is what I think this game needs. This isn't a happy feel-good game. It is not. I just played this, and it still holds up very, very well, but there's some dark stuff in there. Like, Ganon is, you don't mess with him, and there's some really tragic stuff that goes on. And so I don't think that a very beautiful flowy art style would have lent itself very well to this remake. So when I saw that, I was very thrilled. Like you, I noticed the feet details. I'm like, oh my God, he has toes. He has toes. And I know we knew he had toes because we've seen his feet. But it's just the little things like that. And his hat isn't on his head. And I'm like, I spider web. I'm like, ooh, does that mean there's different things we can wear in this game? Does that mean we can it's like, no, he's probably just sleeping, calm down. But it's those little details that I want to hyper analyze. I like the different look of the tunic. I like how the Triforce is glowing on his hand. It's those little things that I am full of hopium. And listen, my hype train has bit me in the butt so many times, but I am letting myself believe. And I just one little clip, I'm spiraling. But so far I'm thrilled. Now if we step out of his room, because that takes place in his room right at the very beginning of the game, and it's all made of neon yarn, and then we'll talk. But like I don't think that's the route they're gonna go, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, even like his like it's some sort of armor or something that's like on top of the green tunic in like a blue, right? A royal blue essentially that's similar to the shield, right? The Hyrulean shield. So it's interesting that they're bringing in those like nods to this world that's been fully fleshed out in other iterations, the Wild series, right? Brian, which you're a huge fan of. And I don't know. I just think they're trying to tell us we're going to see nods to other series based on how we're seeing just more detail on Link's tunic. We're potentially maybe Brittney, you're right. And it's like maybe Link could wear different things. That would be a dream.
Besides the colored tunics, I'm just saying, but I think you're onto something, and I think that's what would make the most sense, right? I know we're going to get into what we want to see, what we hope we'll see, blah, blah, blah. But you do want to see parts of, that game came out in 1998. So many different Zelda games have come out since then. And Nintendo has learned a lot. How do we make these games? What works well, what doesn't? And what have we made that can lend itself to this game that really does need to feel modernized in a lot of ways? It's still a very, very fun game in a lot of different aspects. But yeah, like you need some modern touches to it because it would be an absolute shame to copy and paste this thing.
Yeah.
It would be, don't even get me started. But
so
right, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where else you want to go, but we could go deep.
I know you can. So I guess for me, I am pleasantly surprised with the art style they're taking. It could have completely changed my first impression if this art style didn't feel like it fit the design of what Ocarina of Time is.
You could have pulled a Wind Waker, Brian. Now, I loved Wind Waker in the end, but do you remember
the outrage?
And then the April Fool's joke that got me, but we don't need to talk about that. Yeah. Okay.
So I actually bounced off Wind Waker when I was a kid because I was like, I'm too cool to play this cartoony thing. Yes. I wanted the GameCube tech demo that they showed where it was basically just like GameCube graphics, Link and Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. And then we didn't get that until Twilight Princess, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think that they chose a great art style if the character model is to be believed. I think that if we see every character in that style, that is what I'm really excited for. Like, I can't wait to see Ganondorf in that art style. I can't wait to see Sheik in that art style. Like
the Great Fairies,
Princess Zelda,
the bomb tube bowling alley girl.
Oh my God, I love her.
The Gorons might be questionable. The Gorons may be questionable. I was talking
to Alex. Goron nipples are going to be in that game. God. I'm sorry. Princess Ruto's eyes on the side of her head are going to be terrifying, but I will take the pain if it means I get this game. I don't care.
I love it. Oh,
I've thought about everything. Help me.
You've really gone some places, Brittney. So let's throw it to you then to kick off.
Okay.
To kick off what we want to see most in this Ocarina of Time remake. Brittney, you said, you both have notes written down, but Brittney, you said you have a whole list of bullet points. So kick us off with a good one.
3 pages. Worth, right, Brittney?
Yep, 3 pages. 3 pages. So I'm going to touch back on something that you mentioned earlier. Both of you, I think, mentioned this. Honestly, the main thing I hope that they can keep in this remake in the year of our Lord Kiryu Kazuma 2026, maintain the magic of that game. And I remember games back in the day, it felt like anything was possible. Internet forums were a thing. And I remember playing Ocarina of Time and hearing rumors from friends at the playground and then hopping online. I think there was a website called like Zelda, some dungeon, whatever it was. Yeah, it was like, it was famous, right? And I love that website. I don't think it's around anymore, but it was so fun. And reading the rumors and trying to, you could catch the fisherman's hat right in the pond, and then you could use it, to bother him, or you could get the sinking lure, hit it in the weeds, and then catch the loach, and then maybe you could bomb the crack in the wall there and get the Triforce. All these, the light temple, the unicorn fountain, all of these things that you thought you could find, you could just spend hours and hours and hours searching for them, and it was that sense of magic and wonder. And I think the last last other game that made me feel that way was probably Pokemon Blue back in the day.
Wow.
You know, all the right, like all the rumors that were in that game, like missing note, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing that I really hope that they can maintain, that sense of wonder and magic. Now, in order to do that, you know, you need to add some new hidden things. And I think a lot of that magic comes from the fact that you could just wander that map and come across some of the most random stuff. Right? The Biggoron sword, the Biggoron quest, for example, or even the mask one. What happens if you get all the gold scatolas? What happens if you get the Stone of Agony? You know, just all these random things that were so optional, but they would uncover a whole bunch of stuff. I even think about the graveyard tour in Kakariko Village.
Yeah.
Like all of that. And that was just a magical time. So I don't know. This is probably the hardest thing, but if they can maintain that, that's the thing. That's the number one thing.
Now, do you think they do that via expansions to the kind of laid out foundation that exists? Like, do you think that Hyrule Field is bigger? Do you think it's more like exploration based? Like, do they take the lessons of something like Breath of the Wild and make that a massive Hyrule Field that like you can go and explore different areas, and like maybe there's new traversal methods? I don't know. I think that would break the game, considering like the hook shot is a pretty foundational part of Ocarina of Time. But do you think like Hyrule Field is now going to be, you know, exponentially larger and have a lot more nooks and crannies to poke around in?
I think it has to, right? Because if you look at the field right now as it stands, you're very limited on what you can do in that field, right? When you're older, you can hunt for posts. When you are little, you can run around. It's kind of basically just the big hub that connects you to everything else, right? You can find hidden holes in the ground and get heart pieces if you would like, but there's just not a heck of a lot to do. So yes, I do think that the map itself needs to be expanded. And because I'm a loser, I've spent a lot of time looking into all the content from the original game, right? The game came out in 1998. So there's been lots of years to do some data mining and talk to the creators, you know, Shigeru Miyamoto. And if you look, there's lots of stuff that was cut. So for example, I think they wanted to add a swamp, or it was a really big, like it was some large body of water. And that ended up being the Gerudo Canyon. You know, that's kind of what that morphed into. There were temples that were cut. The medallions that you get at the end of each temple had uses. You know, like the forest temple was going to be a wind temple, and then I think it would give you tornadoes if you use it. And there's actually dialogue in the game. It's like, oh, the sage adds their power to yours, but it does nothing. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm more powerful now, but I don't get anything. So yes, Brian, I do think things need to be added. Now, the field, they've had lots of experience and practice with the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They know how to make an interesting large field and water and anything. What they're going to add, though, I'm not sure, because yes, that's the tricky question. What do you do to keep true to this game and keep true to the story it tells? However, there is so much room for narrative expansion, especially considering, you know, how much Zelda has come after Ocarina of Time. There's other things they can kind of give like prequel info to or something. There's so much. There's so much there.
That's the interest. Oh, go ahead, Camille.
No, I was gonna say I'm drinking from that well too. Like I think they absolutely need to create that sense of wonder, especially because like everyone talks about you collect the, you know, first three, you go to the first three dungeons, and then you go into trying to go to the Temple of Time, and you go into Hyrule World, like Hyrule Field, and you're just like, holy crap. That is like that sense of wonder, I think, can be explained without hurting the story too much in all of those things that you mentioned, Brittney, but also in the physics. Like they've done so well in terms of the Wild series with physics in the game. I think they bring that into, you know, Ocarina of Time. We saw that in Echoes of Wisdom, a little bit of that as well. And even if there is like an expansion of like, if there's different items you get, maybe there's different cosmetics that you could get for Link to wear, but it's still sandboxed in a way where it's like they did again in Echoes of Wisdom, where you have different items, but it's not just an endless amount of items, because that's what the Wild series is there for. I think that's how you expand it. You create more dungeons that could be found within Hyrule Field. You create more side quests, maybe adding little hints, if not the whole expansion, to play Master Quest. Like there's so much that they could do, and I really want to see them flesh that out in terms of gameplay as well, but also side missions. Like side missions, there's so many interesting characters that you encounter. And I remember as a kid, because of the LARPing side of like acting like I was Link living in this world. There were characters that I was interacting with where I'm like, oh, this is obviously going to be a side mission, like with the couple and Hyrule Castle Town, and you're like, okay, like there's something here. I'm going to come back to them because something's going to happen. Rip them in the undead world, but there's stuff there that I think they could expand on easily, and that could give you rewards that may pull nods from other series like the Wild. Like maybe we see some Koroks. Like I know the Kokori are essentially supposed to be the ancestors of the Koroks, but what if there are nods of them there? What if, and Nintendo has been known to do this, flip the switch on what we think the timeline is and have other characters kind of show up in other iterations that may have come before them. And I would love to see that. I would love to see all that.
Well, we've also seen these species exist alongside each other that supposedly evolved from other species, because in Breath of the Wild, we have both the Rito and the Zora, which, those are supposed to be kind of evolutionaries of one another. But also, Brittney, to your point, in my conversations with Eiji Aonuma and Hidemaru Fujibayashi, they were talking about how Shigeru Miyamoto really just encourages them to hold on to ideas that they couldn't execute, and then down the road, implement them in later games. And I think we've seen that in the Zelda series in just the two examples you mentioned. Like we got a wind temple in Twilight Princess, and we got a swamp in Majora's Mask, which was, a year in development after the release of Ocarina of Time. Like that was a direct follow-up to Ocarina of Time, and they were able to get kind of that swamp biome thrown into there using the same engine. So I do think that some of that cut content has a chance to appear, but I also think they've used it in subsequent games, which I think makes it less likely to appear.
Well, maybe they can make something new.
Or an Easter egg to it of like, this is where that idea came from. And maybe there is some sort of text, or, if there is an ancient like ruin that we see is kind of resemblant of the Wind Temple. I think cool things that they could do like that, and they've done in the past.
Breath of the Wild,
Breath of the Wild is full of that. Well, the Wild series is full of that. The other thing I think they could do in terms of expanding that wonder, again, with our LARPing minds, we created so many stories. I think they could fill those stories. Zelda fans love understanding more lore of this world and of the franchise. And there's just so much that happens in Ocarina of Time. There's a 7-year jump, and we don't know what really happened. Like, did the King of Hyrule actually die? I thought he died. Like, I thought he died by Ganondorf. Did he die? Like, flesh all that out a little bit more, and also maybe tell us about the journey from Zelda to Sheik and how that works out, how that came to be. And is Link really just frozen in the Temple of Time, or is he training? Like, is there something that's happening there that could flesh out a little bit more of, the holes that might have been in the story before, just because there wasn't enough resources to really put into that world at that time. One of the things, and this is, are we getting into theories? Are we touching theories later on? Should I save this?
Let's touch theories later on.
Okay, I'll save that. Okay.
But I was going to throw to you about like what is one of your big things that you would like to see from this?
Amiibos. I want all of them. I want every single amiibo. I want every sage to have an amiibo. I want Navi to have an amiibo. I want Link and Zelda to have an amiibo. I want Ganondorf to have an amiibo. I want a Poe amiibo. I want so many amiibos.
Dompe, the Gravedigger.
Dompe?
Oh my God,
that would be
Brian.
hilarious. A Dompe
That would be
amiibo?
the best.
Bombchu bowling alley girl.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's just so many things, and we know they're not done with amiibos yet, which is surprising.
They're just like twice as expensive now.
They're just twice as expensive, and I'm, Nintendo, here's my money, take it. Okay, you sold me already just with the idea of Ocarina of Time amiibos. But more seriously, I want to know exactly what oh man, I want more soundtrack. Like, what are we gonna get in terms of soundtrack? They've had some really good the Ocarina of Time inspired so many soundtracks of the Zelda franchise. Will we get some fresh new ones? Because I need to put those on my rotation.
I want a full orchestra.
Oh,
Full
yeah.
orchestra.
The full orchestra.
All of the orchestras.
Oh my gosh! I'm gonna cry if they start.
I mean,
doing
literally that
orchestra.
soundtrack. Sorry, I'm not trying to hijack your stuff real quick.
No,
but,
go.
But it's the thing of, listen, if they keep every temple in there the exact same, I will not complain. But here, the music and those temples, the forest temple music. Don't cut my forest temple and don't change it to the wind temple. That means I'm getting rid of my music. That is the best ever, and that's what I want. I still listen to that soundtrack on a weekly basis. Yeah, how could
I have an orchestrated version of it on vinyl, and it is phenomenal.
Remember when Zelda did concerts? They'd have concerts across.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys know Trish Hirschberger?
Yes.
So I was at Nintendo Live back at PAX West 2023.
Yeah.
And I was sitting with her and her family, her kid and her husband, and at the Zelda orchestra concert, and we were both sitting there sobbing at how amazing those songs sound with an orchestra.
Yes.
Oh my god! Yes,
Symphony of the Goddesses.
It was so good. I had the pleasure of hosting Nintendo Treehouse for that Nintendo Live, and when we were doing our dress rehearsals, I was hearing, like, we were like talking. It was early morning, and then the orchestra was practicing for the first day, and I'm just like, oh my gosh! And it was just crazy how everyone in that room just stopped and started looking and just started like tears flowing from multiple people's eyes. And it would be really cool to get the original soundtrack, but to get additions of that. I'm hungry for some new Zelda music that touches the soul on the level of Ocarina of Time. I'm also hungry for some DLC content, and I know this is the far-fetched potentially, but hey, Zelda 40th. We should get some DLC content. If that is the Master Quest, if they add that in later, if that is maybe playing as Zelda during what happens at the 7 years. This is my dream, right? The reality, will we get that? Maybe not. But a girl could dream.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, though, because I think Zelda is one of the main overhauls that we need to see. Now, I love my girl, don't get me wrong. And it's a shame because as a child, she's this really strong, we're going to save Hyrule. Maybe has some of that childhood, a little naive, whatever, though. But she's a go-getter, right? We're going to go do this, her in her silly little princess hat. And then she turns into Sheik, right? She becomes Sheik, and Sheik's a really, really strong, amazing bad A, right? And then, she turns into Zelda, and if I say turns, but she reveals she's Zelda, right? And then she's cool too, great. Then you get into Ganon's castle, and then as you're descending the castle, every time a speck of dust so much as lands on Link's nose, she goes, oh! You know what I mean? It's just so inconsistent with her as a character. She's so strong from child to Sheik. Even she has her moments as the actual princess, and then she is just the most feeble, pathetic. I'm like, woman, what happened to you? You literally got tossed around Kakariko Village by Bongo Bongo, and you barely grunted. Anyway, when it comes to Zelda, I think
But that goes with the whole last. Sorry.
No, go ahead,
Brian. No. The final battle. I would actually love to see that more fleshed out when you're running through Hyrule Castle. I would love to see more details, which based on what we saw with the reveal, I think we're going to get more of Hyrule Castle. But I would love to see more of the I want jump scares. I want Ganondorf popping out from the sides of the castle and be like, surprise, and a battle to ensue, right?
I'm with you.
Yeah, I just want a little bit more. I definitely feel the need, as a child of oh crap, we need to get out of this castle ASAP. But I think I want more at stake for, what it means, instant death. It's starting back from the beginning. No, please don't do that, Nintendo. I will cry.
Oh no.
But yeah, I think I want more at stake for that battle, just to feel more up to date with, some games that have real epic final battles.
Well, that's what I love about what Halo Studios is doing with Halo Campaign Evolved. We just revealed this week that it is the Game Informer cover story, and I was able to go to Halo Studios back in May and play not only the 3 bonus missions that are included with it, but also the Silent Cartographer mission, which is the most iconic Halo mission of all time. And they were like, yeah, when you go, like when you played this in 2001, this battle where you're storming the beach and the music's playing felt super epic. When you go back and play it now, it's a little underwhelming. There's only a few like enemies on the beach. It feels so much more epic in your memory than it actually is. So we're bringing that up to modern standards, and we're making it so it feels like this epic battle on the beach. And that is, I think, an example of a great modernization without betraying the source material. And I want to see stuff like that. And I think to your point, having the castle kind of collapsing and the final battle, I think that is a perfect opportunity for them to kind of flex the new technical prowess that we've gotten over the last 3 decades.
Yeah. You got to imagine that's what they're going to do. And I think as we're talking about this more and more, I think what I want is the skeleton to remain the same, the foundation to remain the same, but expand on what you have. I don't even know if they need to add that much more content, come to think of it. If you think about how much is already there, but just the surface has barely been scratched. I mean, I think about the bottom of the well, right? That was a completely optional.
Oh my God, yes.
It was so optional that you just went down there to get the lens of truth and that was it. Or even the ice cavern, right? Or there, or being able to unfreeze Zora's domain. All these things you could expand on what's already there. I think about what's his name, Gog or Grog, the weird dude who you talk to him at night in the middle of the village, and he says people are disgusting. My own father is disgusting. I have never forgotten that man. I mean, what is your problem, sir? I need to know what your history is. What did your father do? What did he do to you? There's all of these potential things here that could just be expanded on. I don't even, like I said, we're talking about it more and more. And I think like you were saying, Brian, just, modernize it in a respectful way that makes sense. Make it better. Take what you've learned. And, like I said, it's 2026 now. There's a lot you could do.
Yeah. I think also one of the things that really stood with me is that obviously that time jump, right? And seeing how when you come out of the Temple of Time and you see Death Mountain and there's like flames around it, then you see the undead and you're like, what the heck? These things could jump on you? Like, you're just like, it felt like a completely different Hyrule that you encountered as a kid. And with that, I kind of wanted to see the effects. That was one thing I remember as a kid playing. And I'm like, okay, like I saved, the Zora's domain, but like, why is it still frozen?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did Link not work his magic here? Did Link not save the day? So I want to see the effects of Link through Hyrule as you solve dungeons. I want the character dialogue to change. I want them to react to the things that are happening in this world. And again, limitations potentially for why that didn't fully happen in its entirety in the original, but I do want where what happens in this world, what Link affects, what dungeons Link conquers, or what items he gets, or people he helps, that now I'm LARPing here, the relationships change, the dialogues change, that we learn more of these characters. And I think, you're right, Brittney. It's like, you don't need to add more content, you need to add more context to the characters.
That's it.
That's the great thing about, like, a few weeks ago I traveled to New York to do a preview event for Star Fox, and another noteworthy N64 game getting a full from the ground up remake this year, which is wild. I honestly, when I heard that it was a remake of Star Fox 64, I was like, that probably rules out getting Ocarina of Time remake this year, because like, that's weird that Nintendo would take 2 of its most beloved N64 games and remake it in the same calendar year. Thankfully I was wrong, because I'm super stoked about both those games. But something
Brian,
that I noticed,
the year of nostalgia, okay?
Oh my God, it is. Between that and Ocarina and Halo Campaign Evolved. It's all of my favorite games from like my late childhood, early teen years coming back into the spotlight. But one of the things that I really appreciated about the Star Fox remake when I played this preview was that they had so much context in the cutscenes between the levels. Like, I completed like the secret exit of the second level, Meteos, in like where you go through like the warps, and they give a cutscene where Fox and Falco, Slippy, Peppy, and General Pepper are all chatting after the mission, kind of debriefing, and General Pepper's like, there's this going on in Fuchina, but you can go to Katina instead. Like, there's also a war effort happening over here. Really, it's up to you. And they really add like, here's why this base is important. Here's why this base is important. Choose which one makes the most sense and go with that. Yeah. And it gives so much context instead of just like, all right, I'm going to choose this level because I want to see what that level's about. It's like, even though like, having beat that game probably 50 to 100 times when I was a kid, like I know the inner workings of how that game plays out, but there's like a moment in my head where like I'm like LARPing, as you guys have said, where it's like, oh my God, but if I don't go there, Bill's not going to survive this attack. But if I go here, military secrets might be lost. I'm like, Brian, you're going for the better path. So just go to Katina and be happy with your decision. But I'm like, oh, but what about the base in Fuchina? So it really does a great job of kind of giving you that additional context without changing the skeleton of that game or really altering the story. It just tells you more about the lore of that game. So I with that in mind, and presuming that it does that for the full game, I would love to see stuff like that with Ocarina. And that we've seen, to your point, Camille, about the environments changing. That was a foundational part of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So we know that, like, we saved Zora's Domain. It's no longer torrential downpour constantly in Zora's Domain, or there's not the gloom all over Zora's Domain anymore. So like, I think that could be one of those lessons that they carry from the Wild era into this remake.
Yeah, I mean, there should be some choice of consequence, right, going on between the 7 years. I mean, as nerdy and nitty gritty as if I bomb a tree, if I cut it down, whatever the heck I do with it, I want it to be a sprout or taller or something when I'm an adult. I think there's so much potential for that. And you were saying this earlier, Camille, but I think the only things that aged in the original, and again, technical limitations, we get it for the kids. But everyone else looked the same. I want whatever amount of Botox they're getting. You know what I mean? Like, please inject me with all of it. But I would love to see, personalities change. I mean, this entire land went through some severe trauma. Apparently, everything got burned to the ground. There's deads everywhere. Death Mountain looks like literal death. And so I want to see that reflected more in the people that we talk to. And God, I mean, that's it. This is the context of 7 years. What happened? What exactly happened? Even if it's just a cut scene, I would love to, like you said, to play as Sheik and kind of experience that. Because last we see baby girl, she's on a horse, GTFOing with Impa, right? And then she throws the ocarina, and you're like, all right, I guess this is mine now. And that's it. And then she plays her harp all the time. So it's just stuff with the time. I want to see more playing around with the time. And we've seen that a lot. I mean, look at Majora's Mask. The whole game is based off of time. But just something with today's technical advancements. Oh, my God. Could you imagine?
Cause and effect. And like they did a little bit of course, like they done a little bit about with the sprouts, right? I would love more reward, like for if you plant a sprout and it grows into like, the what I don't even know what it's called, levitation leaves. The levitation leaves.
I love it.
The leaf of levitation. It's something you would partake in at church.
Of levitation. They're more reward for like doing things like that, and like it's not just like a silver rupee or something like that. Where it's like, okay, this is actually like an item you could get now, or some sort of collectible. But with that, absolutely. Like if you do something 7 years ago, like damage the heck out of a tree, that tree is now like damaged. Like
the tree will really remember that.
Yeah, the tree will remember that. It is Ocarina of Time, and Nintendo's very aware of like, what they've done in previous iterations, the Wild series, and how they use time to kind of justify these nods to series past. So it's like, I would love a whole expansion of that. There's one elephant in the room we have not talked about, which I want to see. Yes, in full annoyance. I want to see my girl Navi, and I want her to say, "Hey, listen," and she better like. I don't want her to be able to be turned off, because yes, I know she's become a meme over the decades, but we would be nowhere if we weren't here with Navi, okay, guiding us along the way. There would be no Fi if there was no Navi, okay? The Navi is the ultimate navigator for any video game. So you got to do her right. Do her as she should be.
Now, do you think there's any world where we get voice acting for like major stuff?
I think we get voice acting through a lot of it based on how that reveal happened. We talked about this, the Triforce like being on Link's hand. We don't see that much later. Even I have questions and theories, which we'll talk about later, of who's narrating. Who is narrating that story? Because it's a little bit different than the original. So I think we're going to actually potentially get full narration in this. And that will be wild.
Oh yeah, I have theories on that too. I'll pucker my cheeks for now on that one. Going back to Navi though, I'm glad obviously we were going to talk about the fairy, of course we were. But yeah, Navi, I used to really be annoyed by her when I was a wee lass, and then as I recently just played, she didn't bother me as much, and I think it's because I have sympathy and empathy for her, because I realize it's not her fault, it's the programmer's fault. But there's this one line for her. At the end, when you're fighting Ganon, it's a final battle. Because of his dark energy, she can't help you or whatever. But then for the very final part, there's just like moment, and I don't know why it always makes me so dang emotional. But she says something along the lines of, "There's no way he's holding me back again. This time we're fighting together." And that one sentence alone redeemed that speck of dust so much. I was like, it was so emotional because she's just fluttering around. Like, that's the most meaningful thing you've ever told me. Not, what would Sirius know or say if she knew we were going to save Zelda? Whatever the heck, you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of potential there, and I would love to see that character. I'm dying to know if the people working on this game, those lovely, brilliant folks, have an idea of who Navi really is. What is that character like?
And why doesn't she have a kid of her own? Like, if all the fairies have a kid of their own.
I thought you meant like a kid fairy for a hot minute. And I was like, that's an interesting.
She have a little baby fairy. No, but like, if all the Kokori have a fairy, why is she Kokori-less? Like, where is her kid?
Why was she special? Right.
And why was she special? Why was it that the Deku Tree entrusted her to watch over Link? Like, was she training for this moment? What does she really know?
Thought.
Who is she really? That's what we got to be asking.
We just got to ask ourselves, what do we really know about this fairy?
Yeah.
This so-called fairy?
Nothing, Brian. That's the problem.
Do? That's the new thing. What would Navi do? We need to just keep that throughout the game. What would Navi do?
Well, I'm sure we're going to hear plenty of what she would do, because I don't think they're going to tone down her presence in this game. I mean, if anything, there's a speculation of like, she's just going to be talking constantly because it's a game in 2026 and not in 1998 anymore. But any other big wish list items that you'd like to talk about before we transition over to theories?
I mean, I have 3 pages of them, but I won't get into all of them. Gear management, for the love of God. I mean, I know, again, this comes down to technical limitations and stuff, but if I have to swap out my iron boots for my hover boots for my regular boots one more time manually, I'm going to explode. Give me a radial menu, please, for the love of God. And it does make you wonder, actually, are we going to be limited again to 3 items equipped at a time?
We have way more face buttons now.
We do. And I hope that's a thing that's changed. Absolutely. And also the need for money, for rupees in this game. There's really no reason to keep getting money at some point. That's why I've never really finished the Gold Skulltula quest, because I don't need infinite money because I have no use for it. I mean, I can do the mini games, and then I still have a giant wallet full of rupees that I don't need to spend anymore. So I'd be interested to see what Nintendo can do with an in-game economy in that sense. Like, why would I need money? Let me gamble for stuff. What could go wrong? I mean, it makes sense, right? 7 years later, Link's an adult.
Yeah.
Everything's bad. Everything's bad. Everyone's partaking in illicit activities of booze and whatnot. you can imagine the rest. Give me money. Give me a gambling rink. Give me the Bombchu alley girl running her own blackjack table. I don't care. Just let me do something with it.
I love all of that. I think it would be cool to see, Bombchu girl go on the deep end.
But reflect upon the trauma they've all experienced.
Castle town.
God, can you imagine?
She's dealing blackjack.
Dealing blackjack.
I love all of that. No, but yeah, I think the economy would be really good. I could see them taking a page out of the Wild series like they did in Echoes of Wisdom in terms of gear management and how that will be handled. But yeah, give us more of a purpose to purchase things. Like, why do I need things? Again, the context, right? Like adding more context to like, why do I need this massive wallet of rupees when it's weighing me down?
Literally weighing me down. I would love to see also that you can compose songs on your ocarina, like actual like music production. I remember I tried to learn how to play the Titanic theme song on my ocarina. And
oh my gosh.
It did not. Well, because that was the rage. That was the thing.
Talk about a snapshot in time. You playing on your N64 Ocarina of Time, learning the Titanic song.
I still remember it. It was like right, down. It was something crazy. I tried, man. I tried. But I again played with that because that was fun. When my 5-year-old was playing it, you can push the notes, you can wiggle the stick, and it does all the stuff. And I'm losing it. But no, I mean, there's so much potential there for that too. So anyway, again, 3 pages. I don't have to go through all that right now, but those are some of my top tier wish lists. And please let the redeads jump me. I really like that. And I want this Sun song to freeze them again too. How fun would that be?
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just gonna add also more fleshed out Hyrule Castle, like when you're sneaking in there, like more Hyrule Castle. I want to see more inside Hyrule Castle. That's one thing as a kid I was like, why can't I see more?
I know, right? And even Ganon's castle is so underwhelming at the very end because just little snippets of each temple, which is cool. But I want to see the castle in Breath of the Wild. That part of the game blew me away. I'll never forget that moment when I spent like 4 hours just exploring that whole entire section.
There's so much to see.
Right. And you kept finding more stuff. And it was that was the last time I had that sense of Zelda magic, I think, is when I was exploring that. So something along those lines. But all right.
All right, Camille, anything else for you on like the wish list that you want to touch on before we move on to theories?
I want to be able, oh my gosh, the dog thing, like petting dogs and them like in the Wild series, like I want to see like some sort of like interaction with the animals. Just cause we can. The cows. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you can play Zelda's Lullaby and they'll give you milk. It's not the sweetest thing. It's really sweet.
So good. It's also also more Lon Lon Ranch. Like I know they export milk, but there should be other animals on this ranch. I'm just saying.
You're not wrong. I wonder if they're gonna make Epona's stuff completely optional again too. I would hope not, because that's such a cool part of the game. But you could miss it if you didn't do it.
Yeah, that's true. But also like oh my gosh, like are there gonna be wild horses in Hyrule Field? Like no, they can't. It's only Epona for me. Epona. Yeah, it has to be Epona all the time, right?
Oh god. Yeah. Okay.
Do you think we're gonna get a bunch of lore drops in the form of like additional dialogue and additional like diaries sitting around of people like, after the 7-year gap of like, hey, father's going off to market today, and then father never came back.
And then is she tasty? And that's it, right?
This is one of the things. Yes, I do think we're going to get lore drops like that. But I also, again, with just people reacting, you're telling me no one recognizes Link 7 years after? Like, no one? Like, I know it's a huge part to the story. Like, Saria's... I just never felt fulfilled. I'm like, how did she not know? Like, it hints that she knows. She lingers at him as he goes away. And then, like, there's this conversation when he comes. But it's like, it drives me wild as a kid. I'm like, how do they not know I was here doing things? Like, I want to tell I want to brag, okay? I want to let all my fellow Kokoris know that, like, it was I was Link, the kid you made fun of that's now saving your behind. Can
we kick Mido's butt? Can we literally just get her friend? Yeah, I got you, girl. I know exactly. That little shuffling fool. He never lets you do anything. He's like,
and then you come back and he's like, oh, there was this kid once. It's like, I'm that kid.
I am that man. I am the hero
I'm
of
the
time.
man. I'm the man.
Short stack, get out of here. And I'm going to use you as a Deku nut. Yes, Brian, I do think that would be lovely and wonderful. Listen,
No.
I am always famished and starving for more lore when it comes to these sorts of games. And I remember, I think it was Breath of the Wild that I was a little disappointed by in some senses, because you would find these really cool little villages or like seaside towns, and there was just nothing there. It had all the excitement of like a wet piece of cardboard. It was like, okay, cool, you got people living out by the beach. That's neat. What's your story? There was no story. And I think, yeah, with this, I would love to see, as much as I would love to see paper lore, like, you know, stacks of paper you find, you could read, whatever. That's great. I'll take it. I will devour it. But I would much more rather see more scripted events that kind of tell those stories in a way that's maybe a little bit more impactful and emotional. But, you know, you just never really know what direction this, you know, Nintendo's going to take it. But as long as we get more context in any way, shape, or form, I will be thrilled. I'll just leave it there. I was going to say something, but I didn't know if anybody would get the context, the reference to the Final Fantasy IX guide, play online. Does anyone know what I'm talking about here? Do you?
I do.
Camille apparently does.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
You're
babies.
not alone. I just like, you're like, anyone, context. Anyone.
Thank you. Anyway, someone out there, you know, it was terrible, Brian. If you wanted like literally the answers to the player's guide in Final Fantasy IX, you had to go to playonline.com. I think what it was called, to get the info, because they were trying to like use their website. They're like, if you want to know how to defeat the final boss, go to playonline.com. Don't read our guide that you spent $20 on. Oh, nay. So it was awful.
Hey, don't jinx it, because we also have that app that is your companion through the wild Tears of the Kingdom. Did we see that? No, right? No.
I hope not, because it was very clunky in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I did try to use it because, like you, I am willing to dig into whatever in order to get more Zelda lore, but it was just like I was constantly bouncing between my phone and my if I wanted a second screen, I would have kept playing on the Wii U. Like, I don't need that. So last question I have before we go on to theories. Do you think that if this is successful, we get a Majora's Mask remake like we did on 3DS?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's no way this is not going to be successful. I can't imagine a world that exists where this isn't successful. And then Majora's Mask would be the next step. I absolutely see that happening. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're already working on Majora's Mask, just knowing how big Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask is. You know, before we saw the reveal, I was theorizing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if we actually see them bundled together? Which I wouldn't want to see, because then it would be more of a remake or make in terms of visual remake rather than like a reborn remake. Which we got. We're getting a reborn remake, which
reborn.
Is great.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. You guys have read the description, right? It says the story is reborn. And I'm dying to know what your thoughts are on that. We can get to that into theories, but I want to bring that up. What is that? Why reborn? You know, why are they using that word? Is it because he died in the original timeline and now he's being reborn to get it right in this one? I don't know, but I'm stuck on it.
That goes to one of my theories, actually, to transition to the theory portion here.
Okay.
Do we get now that this game is, established lore, it is the pivotal part of the Zelda timeline. They have really doubled down on, okay, this is where the timeline splits. If he wins, it goes this way as an adult. It goes this way in the adult timeline, there's no hero and, darkness descends over Hyrule. If he goes back as a child, goes to Majora's Mask and then so on down the line. And then the hero is defeated timeline. Yeah. Since that is canonical, do we get a special cutscene if you die fighting Ganon in the final battle? Like, do we get something that sets the stage for like, okay, yeah, this is a thing that can canonically happen. It's not just another game over screen.
I don't. I would love that.
Sorry, fudge and
chill.
I would love that.
That is a crazy theory.
Oh my god.
That's a crazy theory. I don't think we would see that. That would be wild if we do. That'd be wild. I was more thinking of with timelines. Okay. Again, I had this question with this reveal over and over again. Like, the narration is off. The Deku Tree is talking about itself. If this is the Deku Tree in third person, what if it's not the Deku Tree?
Oh, see, I never
Why
thought
is
it was
this
the deck. I never.
Why is this tapestry here? Right? Like the tapestry, who's narrating, like sleeping nightmares about this, okay? And
I
then
have
I
my
was
theory, but
thinking,
go ahead.
okay, well, the characters, and I know like this is going to be so far-fetched, so I'm putting on my tinfoil hat.
I love it.
The characters on the tapestry kind of remind me of a certain style of game. Kind of reminds me of Wind Waker.
Mm.
Wind Waker is the other game that tells the story of Ocarina of Time. In its prologue, it talks about how the hero defeated Ganon. There's this like a book, I think it's a book, essentially, that tells this. What if
Ooh, I like where this is going.
that part of the story, who's telling the story, is that prologue of Wind Waker? I don't think they'll make the connection in the game that this is Wind Waker, but what if we're not actually hearing any of the characters from Ocarina of Time? We're hearing the legend that was also told in Wind Waker, that this is essentially what happened to the hero of time, and it's through that perspective of Wind Waker. Bam, after this game comes out, maybe a couple of years later, we get Wind Waker in the style of the tapestry. That is like in that style. Okay. That's just my out of hat theory.
No, I honestly, I love it. I don't care how wild it is. I love it. I love your brain because it's like my brain. It doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes, but we freaking
but
love
I'm just
it.
like,
Yes.
I know what they're trying to do because it's like kind of ancient tapestry, the ancient writings from Tears. Like it's like, okay, that's the style on the tapestry. But I'm like, what if this is like also a little nod to like, oh, you don't even know what's coming. We got some gifts coming for Wind Waker's fan down the road. But in reality, I do think it maybe it's Rauru.
That was my thought. Yeah.
That was my guess. And what if they make him look like the Rauru from Tears of the Kingdom this time?
But then it wouldn't sound like Rauru.
That's true. That's a good point.
Right? Because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, Rauru is like a pretty big character. We don't get much context on him, which I hope that's fleshed out more. I would love to see it in that, Zonai kind of like iteration, but it then wouldn't be the same voice, which I mean, they've changed voice actors before in different games. So, so that's nothing new, but it's just like, it would be very different. Also, do they have British accents in this Hyrule? Just random question I just thought about if there's voice acting.
They do.
I'm sure they do.
They have to,
you
right?
have all the different species. I'm sure they all, maybe the Zora's like.
Is it Patricia Somerset voicing Zelda?
That is a good question. I don't think they're gonna do the same voice cast because I don't think they were. Because you'd have to imagine like these are different versions of these characters. Whereas in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, it was the same Zelda and all that. Like I would be surprised. I mean, he did a great job, but I would be shocked if Ganondorf is like Matt Mercer again.
Okay, so theory time.
Okay,
so Rauru, the first time you meet him in Ocarina of Time, he's like this plump, large man with a bald head. I think he has some white hair, these fantastic robes on, and it's called Chamber of the Sages, right? You pull out the Master Sword, there you are, and he's like, oh, you're hi, Link, whatever. So he gives you the light medallion, right? He was originally going to be in the Light Temple. That was cut. You do see it though in Ganon's castle, the final temple there, and there's a little section there where you can do a little light area. So like it's a thing that exists. I wonder if he's going to play a much more prominent role because I think originally probably was supposed to. Yeah. I wonder, right? So you pull the sword out, you're an adult. What if the light temple is like the first thing you have to do as an adult? What if it's like a new tutorial for your fancy new adult body? Maybe you get some new skills or something. I think that's why he would be the narrator. I think he's going to play a much more prominent role in this game. And that's my thought. I'm literally just cooking this as we're talking.
Could it be the light temple that tapestry's in? Like, also, where's the tapestry? It looks like there's like, fire kind of like, you see like the glow of fire kind of glowing on the tapestry also. Like, that's what I kind of envisioned with the like warm lighting and how it's kind of shimmering in and out.
Because it does feel like someone's telling a story, right? Because they're talking about Link in the past tense. There once was a boy, and you never get that dialogue, really.
There there were fires at the end of Ocarina of Time when everybody's gathered around the big bonfire celebrating.
Oh, okay, Brian.
Okay.
Okay, Brian.
Okay. There's fire in the fire temple too. I mean,
Yeah, but who's hanging out in the fire
like,
temple telling stories?
But what are you thinking? Like that's where they're telling the story of Link, but he's technically alive in that timeline, isn't? Oh no, because he went back to his own.
Goes
Could it
back.
be a
He
Goron?
disappears.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to think who would be telling that story. Brian, I like where this is going. Let's get weird with it. Okay, so Link's back in his own timeline. Now you are in Lon Lon Ranch. You're having bonfires. There's Gorons. Everybody's there. Hoo-hoo, magical. And now they're telling the story to somebody. Now, who are they telling the story to? Oh my God, what if it's the adult
Navi?
Deku Sprout?
Oh.
What if it's the adult Deku Sprout?
Like they're telling the story to the Deku.
Oh, no. Well, I'm thinking that because, you have the Deku tree. He
the Deku tree's replacement.
Yeah, the little sprout guy.
The little sprout.
And then
adult form,
What if it's that telling the story to the little Kokiri children? Well, I guess they would always remain children. So I don't know if they would need to be told the story again. Do they die? Oh, we're getting dark with it.
Oh my gosh.
If they die, there would be more.
But maybe it's like the fulfillment of like, yes, they now know that Link was like one of them. Like he was a
That's
hero
what I'm thinking.
from
That's
his
what I'm
time.
thinking.
Maybe. Oh my
gosh. Did
gosh.
Link have any friends that would have gotten older that could be telling the story on his behalf? Because I don't know if it's Rauru. Because the sage, he's up there protecting the world and stuff. He's not there bestowing tales upon children. Right.
And then like I'm trying to think of the original opening. So you hear like the story of the goddess, and then you have the Deku Tree talking to Navi. So I was theorizing that maybe Navi's hearing this story. Because it's like just one boy, and it's like maybe it's context into why Navi being given this mission of like going to that one boy that doesn't have a fairy.
Well, then would circle it back to the Deku Tree being the narrator.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe this won't be in the game at all. Maybe it was just a little teaser.
Why does he talk about himself in the third person? No, it has to be in the game.
Tree.
It has to.
I think it's one of the okay. I'm going with my Deku Sprout. It's the Sprout. I'm calling it right now. Sprout's a big boy now. He's a big tree, and he's telling all the little Kokiri children, "Look what one of you did." But you're not going to do this because he's a Helian and you're not. You worthless children. You're not going to be oh my God. But then again, it goes into the whole reborn terminology, There's something to that.
Reborn and re-dead?
What? She got something.
Gorons. Darunia.
Yes.
His brother. Link's soul brother.
Oh!
There's fire when he's dancing. Maybe he has a tapestry that he puts up later to tell his son the story.
Well, okay, yes. I think we're onto it. Okay, so this is the timeline. Link's already gone back in his path. This is the saved timeline. Everyone's happy. One of them is sitting around. They have Goron children. They got Rudo's children. I don't even care. All the children are sitting around, and someone is telling them the story, the tapestry. But where's the tapestry? Look. Oh, okay. This is it.
Because listen, the background of that scene, I believe, was like kind of like rock.
Yes.
Walls.
Oh, I must.
So the Goron. The Goron's area, Goron City, Death Mountain.
I don't know if his voice would sound like that though. Don't Gorons a little bit, gravelly,
listen to some of the ones in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. Okay.
True.
Very honestly, high-pitched voice.
Go ahead, Brian.
But like that would make sense because they would have to tell the story of this hero because Link doesn't exist in that timeline anymore.
That's
he went back.
It's afterwards. And honestly, Darunia does have like in his chamber. There are there?
I know what you're talking about. I know there's things hanging, right?
Yeah.
We're getting real
deep. Did we just crack this?
Oh my gosh. We don't need to play this game anymore.
I'm literally Googling this right now. I think. Oh yes. Well, okay. Here's the thing. There's a nice rug on the ground. There's Triforce symbols hanging from the roof. There is art on the side, but it looks more of like a rock painting of sort, like a cave painting.
Oh yeah.
But I do. Yeah. That's that. Okay.
That's what we're gonna tell ourselves it is. We'll have to wait and see.
I
And
mean,
then
no,
watch, it's going to be the
think-
Deku tree. It's just going to be we're just going to be like, oh, we overthought that, which is not an uncommon thing. You know, it is not rare that we overthink the lore of this. Like I've asked AJ Aonuma about like crafting the lore, and he's just like, yeah, it's kind of a thing that we think of after we create the gameplay.
Yeah, that's why I try not to think about it too much, but it is so fun to do it with people who get it. This is so much fun.
It is.
Oh.
Any additional theories that you were just dying to talk about before we wrap up this segment and by extension this episode?
I kind of have a theory, and this goes back to what we were just talking about, that I think this is going to be a separate retelling of maybe a different timeline, maybe something else. The reborn thing, again, I am hooked on that. And after we just talked about what we talked about, I do think it's going to be a retelling. Maybe it ends differently. Maybe this is I mean, I don't know the Zelda timeline that well, so I don't even know as of right now if there's a new way to even split things off. But I think about what, Ryuga Gotoku is doing with the Yakuza series, and they're just splitting all those timelines into a million different pieces. So maybe they're doing the same thing here. Who could say? I do want to run a few things by you guys, and I want to hear your visceral gut reactions.
Okay.
The amount of squelching in Jabu Jabu, what is that going to be like?
It's not going to be a pretty dungeon to explore.
I mean, my gosh, that's especially inside his belly, more realism.
It's already a pulsating fleshy mess in there, Camille. Like, I just replayed that thing, and there's those little yuck hole ulcers in the ground. There's a little like tentacle things
that are like
it's popping in there, it's gurgling in there. It ain't pretty. So okay, well, I'm glad you guys are on the same page with that.
It's gonna be a nightmare.
The Great Fairies, what are we doing with them? Are they going to remain the same? Are they going to be just as pointy? Or are they going to revert back to more? Well, okay, here's the thing. They could be like the Great Fairies that we have seen in later Zelda games, or they could be like those Oscar award ones that they were naturally supposed to be originally. You know, the crystalline figures. I don't know if you've seen pictures of them. No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great Fairies, are they going to be just as terrifying?
Absolutely. They need to have like really harsh eyeliner around their eyes, a mole.
Girl, I tell you, my son, whenever he sees those, he goes, "Hey, it's mommy."
Your son.
I got the mole. I got the eyeliner. Okay, he's not wrong, but dang, like, ouch.
mean, hey, I want them to yell out like, they're yodeling across the Hyrule field themselves. Like, I want them to be in all their glory, and they are glorious. They are beautiful, Brittney.
Mhm.
You are beautiful.
Thank you. I'm not covered in vines. I don't have pink hair, but appreciate the confidence boost. Finally, the water temple. What are we doing with the water temple?
As hard
I think it
and
remains. I think it remains largely the same. I think that they keep it kind of similar to what they did in the 3DS version, where it's easier to switch boots on and off. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a slight redesign, but I think that is such an integral part to the overall experience that people have such a terrible like recollection of that temple, mostly because of having to go into the menu to swap out your boots, go back and, just into the menu, out of the menu, into the menu, out of the menu the entire time. Without that, I think the water temple's actually perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I think it also, again, looking back on it, when you had to raise and lower the water levels, it was hard. It was easy to miss where you could do that. But again, I think that could be easily fixed with today's technical advancements. But anyway,
it's very clever overall, honestly. And it's funny, we did a rapid fire interview with Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma, and there was a moment where Ben Reeves, who was hosting the rapid fire, said it was about Breath of the Wild, and he's like, "Is the water temple going to be bad in this one?" And Miyamoto pointed at Eiji Aonuma and goes, "No, because he's not designing it." And I was like, wow.
Oh, that's so
what
good.
a burn.
I love that. Oh
I love that. Oh, that's all I got. I just mostly wanted to hear about the squelching, but I appreciate the
it's going to be very squelchy, that's for sure. Do you have any theories, Camille?
My theory is that all of our theories are probably going to be wrong.
Yeah.
All of our theories are probably going to be wrong. That's one thing, you got to learn from Nintendo. It's like they will do what they want. And really at the heart of it, I think if they just expand on that context in any way possible, I'm probably going to love this game.
Yeah. Where does this rank, to close out this segment, where does this rank in the most anticipated games for the rest of the year for you?
Number one. Not even a question,
Brian, you
dude.
didn't have to ask that question. It's freaking number
Hey,
one.
Have you looked at this fall? Like there are
Yes.
some.
I don't care. Everyone was talking about this fall, September. I don't see any of that. All I see is this lingering game, Ocarina of Time, and I'm just figuring out where it goes. It kind of like the Windows save or like the DVD save screens. It just that's how it goes over my fall. Okay, it's just floating through my fall, and that's all I see. That's all I care
literally
about.
same. If there's a Megaton hammer above my head and they're like, yo, you one more game for the rest of the year, for the next 2 years, this would be it. Hands down. Like literally hands down. Then again, like Grand Theft Auto, great. I'm happy for all of y'all, but it doesn't matter to me anymore. It doesn't even freaking matter. I'm assuming this is going to launch around November. If anyone can go do it, Nintendo can. So actually on that note, where do you see this landing?
Ooh.
I think
I think
early
November.
early to mid-November.
Yeah. That's my thought too.
And
I also have a sneaking suspicion that GTA is going to delay into the first 3 months of next year.
Oh, could you imagine?
That's not based on any inside information, by the way. That is just me.
your gut feeling.
Yeah, I have a gut feeling. I could be entirely wrong. I hope I'm entirely wrong because I want that game to come out sooner rather than later. We've waited 3 console generations for a follow-up to GTA 5.
Yeah.
It is time. But like I don't know, the writing's kind of on the wall, but you never know with Rockstar. Rockstar is about as unpredictable as Nintendo is. So like, take that with a grain of salt.
That'd be
would.
wild and crazy if they delay it and then everyone September just
Comes
opens up
back.
because studios just are like, oh, we could spread this out a little bit. We don't have to worry about it.
I could see a world where we get a repeat of last year, which was, hey, everybody, Hollow Knight Silk Song launches September 4th. And everybody goes, oh, well, we're getting the heck out of this early September. We're going to late September. And then they unknowingly step directly into the oncoming train of Hades 2. I could see a world where they're like, we're going to delay our game out of September into November because GTA is out of there. And they all book like November 15th. And then next thing you know, Ocarina of Time coming November 15th. And it's like, come on.
Oh,
I could totally see that scenario playing out.
So my theory on the release date is I had to Google it to remind myself, but November 23rd was when it released for Nintendo 64 in North America. So how cool would that be? And then I was like, okay, well, when is Thanksgiving this year? It is November 26th.
Stars are aligning.
So how cool would that be? November 23rd, it releases here. I think that would be freaking cool. So that's
the 24th, the day after. That's a Tuesday. November 24th is a Tuesday. I had to check. So
okay.
The thing is Nintendo's been doing Thursday releases lately.
That's true.
Right.
The 26th on.
I don't think they're going to do it on Thanksgiving. I think they'll do it the week before.
Before, yeah, a couple weeks to a week before, just to get
potentially
in on
the
that.
12th or the 19th. That's what we're looking
the 19th GTA currently, so they're not going to go blow for blow with them, but they can do it in the proximity.
Yeah.
Quick question. 2 questions. Do we see content like after the game's release coming to the game, maybe in a year, 2 years? And also, what are these, like, are we seeing a special edition of the Switch too? Like, what's
Gold
that
cartridge,
like?
baby, let's go.
I would there are a few games that I would like drop money on for a collector's edition these days, like just because I have too much junk. I have too much stuff sitting around my house. I don't have enough places to put it. I would go ham for a Ocarina of Time, like ultra super deluxe collector's edition, as long as it has cool stuff. I don't need like a, I don't know what nonsense they're putting in some of these. Like I don't need like a remote control Navi, although that would go hard.
Like a drone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I need the Navi drone.
But you have to imagine they would have an ocarina included, right? Like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that would have to be in there. And maybe like it's the spiritual stone replicas could be kind of cool.
A golden Switch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Didn't they? Was there a golden Switch already released? I mean, that was the Switch one though.
Yeah, I don't know. That was the Switch one.
Yeah.
They could do a golden Switch.
Yeah. The gold theme definitely would be amazing. But yeah, I'm thinking like an instrument, maybe the spiritual stones could be in there. Like, well, they always do maps. I don't know if people are still doing cloth maps. There was an unhealthy obsession with cloth maps and collector's editions for a long time there.
Some still are.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brian. I had to stop getting them because I have nowhere to put, anything, and I'm running out of room. But
I want a statue.
Yeah, I'm with you. A statue?
A statue would go hard.
Ooh.
Like that like pose of like Link playing the ocarina, like just with his eyes closed.
Yes.
That would be an incredible statue.
Oh
Um,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Or even like him pulling out the Master Sword.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
so cool. And like having a Navi next to it. I mean, they gave us the Lego set. Just give us more. Just give us more.
I mean, honestly, this is kind of giving me feelings in terms of like a merch perspective of when Final Fantasy
Yes.
X Remaster came out, and it was like, okay, we have this excuse to release all these new figures of Final Fantasy X. And that was like Christmas morning for me because
Yeah.
I am such a fan of Final Fantasy X, but all those old figures that came out in 2001, 2002 were priced through the roof on eBay. So I was like, yeah, this is amazing having the ability to buy Final Fantasy X stuff. I think we're going to start seeing a boatload of Ocarina of Time merch, and I am
my
so
gosh,
excited,
right.
but my
I'm
wallet is not ready.
So glad you said that, Brian. That's something I've been thinking about too and getting really giddy about. Because here's the thing, is like I know a lot of people like Ocarina of Time 3D. It was fine, but I did not like how all the merch had the 3D next to it.
Oh, yeah.
And so if we can do some true blue stuff, I mean, we got so much cool merch back in the day. I have, here, actually, this is my friend's original 1998 keychain. from Ocarina
Wow.
of
So
Time.
cool.
But like, you know what I mean? Just like random stuff like this, I want to spend my money on. I mean, I have enough t-shirts, but God, yeah, the merch. I mean, they already have.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It would just be cool. Even like I know they don't really, Nintendo doesn't do this, but like a steel like cartridge case.
Like the case.
Oh, like the
yeah,
cases. Yeah,
but gold, like oh my gosh.
yeah.
That would be the one. I guess I own Mario Kart World on
I
physical, but
I have physical I love physical. I
know.
love physical because you own
I
it.
just couldn't.
Brian.
I couldn't have space. I just did not have space for all of these cartridges. And also, if it's a portable system, I want to just have all my games
True.
loaded on already.
Yeah.
I'm traveling a
True.
lot, so like, I don't want to have to carry a bunch of cartridges around. That's kind of my stance on that.
Oh my god, the medallions for every temple. Oh my
Medallion coasters. Let's go.
gosh. Give it to me. Give it all.
Well, all right. I think we have thoroughly covered. It was what, like a 30-second teaser, and we have gone almost an hour and a half on it. So I think that we have thoroughly covered this. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up, guys?
We prepared for this moment our whole life. We've had a lot of years to think about this, my friend. No, I mean, honestly, this is just the number one game like I've wanted a remake of. Honestly, as long as I can
Same.
remember. As long as I can remember. So the fact that we're getting this, all I really need now is Mother 3 localized, and I need them to unscrap Final Fantasy IX Remake from the trash bin, and then I would be very excited, and then my life would be complete. But no, this doesn't even feel real. I can't believe we're actually getting this game. Oh my
I know.
God. Ah!
Yeah, it feels like we're living in a freaking Twilight Zone where this is not reality. Like, is this real life? Do you guys remember that video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm
And
old enough
that's-
to remember that video.
Yeah, I feel like that. Is this real life? But also, I think for fans of old, you have to give the fans of new some grace, okay? Like, let's not spoil the magic. I know we've spoiled pretty much everything on this podcast, but don't spoil the magic for the new fans. Don't tell them how to play through it, and also be surprised by like what's new. I think something that's so beloved, us gamers, especially sometimes Zelda fans, could get too protective over the franchise, and it's like we just need to trust the gracing hands of Nintendo to really take the wheel on this one and make it reborn for us, and just trust the process before we criticize it. And hopefully there's a direct that's going to be dedicated to this game and going deeper. And until then, I hope we don't get anything ruined. Like, I hope we don't get any leaks until because leaks are also unavoidable, but until like very, very close to when we see more of this game, just because I want to just dive into the magic of it, and I don't want it ruined. But then we're also in games media where we ruin everything because we read too much.
Oh, I'm muting every Zelda word. I am going dark. I cannot after this long of waiting, I cannot afford to have this game spoiled to me by some avatar online. I can't. I refuse.
You sound like me in the lead up to like Spider-Man No Way Home or like Avengers Endgame. I had so many words muted on Twitter.
Oh yeah. I just realized that I still had Resident Evil muted, actually, and I'll show you why I never. Yeah, that's why.
You're on social media like, wow, nobody really cares about Requiem.
Literally, Brian. I was like, what's going on?
Well, this has been awesome. I'm glad we were able to recapture at least a little bit of the magic that we had in the JW Marriott bar in LA Live during Summer Game Fest. I was legitimately lamenting the fact that I did not have microphones in front of all of our faces while we were having that conversation. But this was a close second to how great that chat was. So thank you both for joining me on this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Thank you, Brian. You're the best.
And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get in touch with me, but you can also reach out to me, Brian, at allthingsnintendo.com, or hit me up on social media at Brian P. Shea. Camille, tell everyone where they can find you online.
You can find me online everywhere at This Is Camco.
And Brittney, how about you?
Me at blondenerd.com. Sorry, blondenerd.com, blondenerd on Twitter, blondenerd everywhere. I am the nerd that is blonde. I'm so hyped, dude. I am so hyped. I can't even form a coherent sentence right now.
What are words? What are words?
That is our show for this week. Thank you again so much for listening. Take care. We will see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the All Things Nintendo podcast. You know how we have to do it. Before we get out of here, I need to thank the $10 patrons of this podcast. Alex Stadnick, Ben Richland, Big Mitch, Chad Brecky, Chaps My Ass, Damian Patino, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, Casey Radioman, Kenny Shaw, Cody Gibson, Creeper207, MPI Creates, Nathaniel Edison, Ozman83, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zane Sink, and Zek Three Sword Sama. Truly, I say it every single week. I promise you it's the truth. I could not continue doing this show without the support of the wonderful folks over on Patreon. It gets more and more true every week, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you.
Hey there, I'm Hugh from Moderation, and if you like today's show, why not check out Roll for Riz, a podcast as ridiculous and cheesy as its title implies. You might have heard of Isekai. You might have heard of Reverse Isekai. But have you heard of D&D Reverse Isekai, where an adventuring party finds themselves in modern-day Japan with their powers completely and utterly intact? It sounds ridiculous, right? But it sounds like you want to listen to it, right? Find Roll for Riz wherever you can get your podcasts.